Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. I'm your host, Richard Lewis. Joining me, as he always does, is Duncan Thorne Shields. Sam's pressing the buttons. Duncan's in California still, living that dream, smoking that good, no doubt. You actually seem lucid this time. This is like the first episode I think we're actually going to have conversation.
The real problem is I changed Airbnbs, and in the first Airbnb I was in, the only desk space, unfortunately, was right next to a window. So as a result, the light basically just shone in. So as a result, that's why my eyes were like super like. Listen, I obviously do partake,
and that's why, officer. And that's why, officer. My eyes are red as fuck.
Listen, all the rest of the hours of the day, they would have been red as fuck. But actually, I believe it or not, I attempted to, as the kids call it, sober up for that show. Believe it or not.
What about you, Sam? I haven't even
Professionalism.
talked to you.
Yeah, right, man. Fine, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely.
I like to think I'm lucid. Yeah, but
he's also got
not.
red eyes. Yeah, exactly. And not those bloody brilliant red eyes.
Oh man. Well, yeah, everything's good. My end, you know.
Yeah.
Apart from the rugby and that. So
yeah, I know.
That would be a great concept for esports content. Red eye with red eyes on a red eye. He's on a plane.
Doing bottom
talking about esports. Yeah.
I'll pitch into him. Fucking hell, have I already told that story? Fucking hell. Yeah, it'd be good, wouldn't it? We'll have lots of banter.
That's before the targets.
Never let it be said that, like, you know, we don't still put the same level of craft into this podcast, by the way, and we just fucking, you know, we just get up and wing it and stuff. Like, it ain't like that. We plan
never
on
mail it in. Never would do
100%
that.
Never me. Yeah, never me. Also, I do want to say as well, but like, just to continue on from like last episode where we were talking about how Reddit is making people mental, right? Duncan got embroiled in a drama. Well, it's not even a drama, and he weren't even really embroiled. But I don't even know how to describe how dumb it is, right? So he's over there in League of Legends land, and they got a podcast called Summon an Insight. In fact, the reason he's in California right now is he's been doing it in the studio with Christo and all this, right? So way back in the day, they started this like award, right? Because they would give out end of year awards like we do here on By the Numbers, like a lot of websites do, a lot of TV shows do. And they had this thing called the fucking Dade Award or whatever, right? I nearly said the Dido Award first time for fucking female artists that just disappeared, but whatever. The Dade Award is basically for some cunt who was fucking overrated. You feel me?
Yeah.
So they made that award. And they would give it out every year, right? Like, well, not every year, but like any year, some cunt had been massively hyped by like the community or the press or by his team, and then like basically flopped at Worlds or whatever. And they called it the Dade Award in honor of the guy that was so fucking massively hyped and massively overrated and did fucking flop, right? So anyway, they haven't been giving it out because they don't think that it should be given out every year, see? Because it's their award and they choose who gets it. But the community are so jacked up on their own selves. Not only do they think they invented the award and the title of the award, they've been giving it out to other players like every year, and it's been reported in Liquipedia or something, like the recipients of this completely made fucking award that these guys made and haven't given out. So Monte Cristo did a tweet, right? He said, "It's our podcast. We named the award. The only people who give out the awards are me and Duncan, and the League of Legends community lost their shit." How pompous! How arrogant! It's like it's their fucking content, mate. What are you talking about? And they were saying, we'll give out the awards we want. And there was like just replies to Duncan going, "Oh, you're the only person ever who came up with the idea of a player being overrated, I suppose." And it's like, no, but they did call it the Dade Award. So I've never seen nothing like it, man.
No,
every day I wake up, social media is driving everyone mentally ill. Like 100%. It's ridiculous. I don't know if you've got something you want to say about it, because we can get clipped. Go on, Duncan. Go
hear me? Oh, did I come back? There we go.
Yeah,
so
you did lag out a little bit.
The main problem here is, like, notice how the community has managed to take 180 the opinion they had last episode when everyone was telling Spongy stole someone's opinion.
I know, right?
They've used the opposite logic. Because in this scenario, my point...
You don't own that opinion, bruv.
Yeah, obviously, like the concept we came up with, you know, like if someone was hyped and then they turned out to be overrated, absolutely anyone could decide that. Like, yeah, I didn't invent that. But why do you have to use my name if it's not that big a deal? Like, obviously the name's catchy as fuck, isn't that the real reason why they did it? Like, people are just silly about stuff like that, aren't they?
I just couldn't believe it, mate. What was it, like 3,000 comments or something? People arguing, 3,000 comments on Reddit, people arguing about whether or not they have a right to take something you explicitly named on your podcast, which was always ostensibly for the community anyway. Take over it, not just take over it, run it, and give it out themselves collectively as a group. Like, fucking hell, man. Like, honestly, it's. I don't even know what we need to do
you
now.
Made this? I made
this. No, but like, right, would it be bad? Yeah, right. I used to be against. Right, there was these articles that were going out, right, about how the German government were looking at like dosing the water. They're like talking about dosing the water to make everybody loved up, so there'd be like less hate in society, right?
Okay.
Right. Now I'm just thinking like that with a twist. If the government just started dropping fucking lithium or whatever it is, like out of planes, just on, it's the only way we can cure it, mate. It's like World War Z, but with fucking mental illness. I can't deal with it. Everyone's fucking crazy. They're all climbing at each other. We on the Dardanelle Award. We on the Dardanelle Award. Scaling up walls.
It's like
coming to get you. We got to start dropping the lithium, mate. That's the only way. Like 100%.
No, the response World War Z movie. Massive people's crawling over each other and be like, I want.
It's even better when you're lagging.
Yeah. Like
I change the service, see if that helps a bit.
No, right. I think it is B&B, but go on.
It's probably just my Wi-Fi. It just goes in and out.
Yeah, it's all right. Joke was gone. It was better because it sounded like you were red eye on a red eye.
The weirdest thing as well, by the way, they also, as a community, there's something. Maybe I'll make this point now. But one thing that goes really is, right, first of all, the people who complain on Reddit about us complaining about Reddit and random fans nearly always are the mentally ill people, by the way. Like, that's not a coincidence. They're just running defense for their own bullshit. But they always present themselves, right, as a normal person. They go, but there's lots of Reddit and Twitter, and I'm just a normal guy. Why do you say they're idiots? This is why. Because also individual plebs, we also mean as groups. Like, it's quite well known that mobs act differently to the individual members of the mob. Like, you go to sort of like a lowest common denominator, shared consciousness almost, and it will make even a normally rational, intelligent person can absolutely get swept away in political or religious, whatever, further, it can go crazy. So one of the things I would say about this is another example of the situation you were talking about with me and Monty was there were hundreds of comments of people who were like, look how arrogant this guy is after he's had to come crawling back to League of Legends from that shit Overwatch game. And all because, look, we just live rent-free in his head. Again, hundreds of comments discussing an Overwatch League commentator on the league sub and telling him that they live in his head. Like, you don't, lads. Like, if there's anyone who's got rent-free status, it's Monty in all your brains. Like, he hasn't even been in the scene for years, and you're all doing this.
Get that rent-free emote spammed, homies.
Rent-free is the most concept since like straw men or whatever. Because when people first heard that, they were like, straw man? If I just say the other person's doing a straw man, do I win the argument automatically? It's like, well, that's actually be a straw man. Never mind that. I'm just going to mass apply this anyway. It's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Rent-free. Why is it always the person who you definitely live in there rent-free who just goes, wait a minute, reverse psychology. Nah, bruv. I'm living in your head, rent-free. So you aren't. Even what you're saying, that means I live in your head.
I don't even know who you are.
It's like a guy with 10 followers, like, I'm just living in your head, rent-free. So who are you? You're an egg.
I don't even know who you are, mate.
You're an egg.
Yeah, you're an egg, exactly.
That's not just what we scream at Moses when he tries to get too big for his boots in the green room, You're an egg! Who are you? An egg!
Oh, wait, it's Moses! Calm down. Oh, man. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I haven't seen anything that stupid for... I mean, again, I say it every week. It's like we just keep lowering the fucking standard of what it's all about, man. It is insane. But look, right, if you want to know about the mob and how it takes over people's brains and stuff, go back. There's this old school, because it's Halloween and that. There's this old school episode of the Twilight Zone called "The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street."
Yes, classic.
Yeah, if you ain't seen it, guys, go watch it.
That's actually a really good one, by the way, for the modern climate. It's all about like fear mongering, isn't it?
Yeah, go watch it. Right, Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. If you've got a Netflix account, go watch it. The
original Twilight Zone, the first ever one.
Yeah. This is was it first season? If it is,
the first season.
If it's first season, it's 59. But anyway, go watch it. Right, it's basically about there's these they see these UFOs and people are like trying to get into like find out who's communicating with the aliens because they're flying over this neighborhood, and there's just this mass panic just goes off like a bushfire in this like idyllic suburb, you know, of America where everyone knows everyone. It's white picket fences. They all start turning on each other one at a time, right? And basically they all rise up and create a mob, and they like witch hunting and shit. It's just Reddit basically. The monsters are due on Reddit. Like, there you go, season 1, episode 22. Go check it out. And also,
by the way, as an aside, because when people watch that, right, I notice a lot of people never seen the original Twilight Zone. I know I hadn't for the same reason, which is because it's all black and white and the graphics are all shit, right? So unfortunately, you're going to think, I'm not going to be able to enjoy this. But the whole point is, listen, you probably wouldn't enjoy every episode if you're just a normal person. But like the absolute best ones, the ideas that they come up with are so good that it's worth, like, you can get past the special effects. So all I would say is, if you watch this episode and you like it, just do like a Google, like original Twilight Zone, top 10 episodes or whatever, and just watch those. Like, because the problem with that show is there are like 1 million episodes. So if you're not super into it, you might not want to watch like every one. But just look up the top 10. I guarantee you're either going to recognize every single storyline that'll be reused in movies since, or you'll just see some of them are just cool. Like, basically, if you like Black Mirror now, you're going to like the best absolute episodes of that show. It's basically what it copied off. Let's be real.
Yeah, 100%. I think I actually did a video, top 5.
You did way back in the day when you first.
Yeah, if you go on my YouTube channel, type in Richard Lewis
stuff on you.
Yeah.
So I remember it must have been around Halloween, right? 'Cause that was when you did that one about Society way back in the day.
Yeah, Society. That's a fucking film.
That is a fucking film and a half, that one, isn't it? Like, because the best thing is you've got to trick someone into watching it who doesn't know what sort of movie it is, because they're going to like lose their shit halfway through, aren't they?
Well, quite literally, it turns out in the film. Anyway, right. So, if you want to watch, if you were to rank the classic betting websites, there'd be one website that was right at the top. It's .com. They're the ones who sponsor us. So make sure if you do like to bet on esports events, you go check them out. You create an account. You can sign up using .com/RLS. And if you do that, that shows that you came from my channel, my stream, and that means that conversely, you end up supporting me because that's what the partnership's about. But they are a great website, great people to work with. I've been creating some content as well over on their YouTube channel. We've been doing some interviews with some, CS celebrities. That's CS. Go sign up there. They want as many subs over there as possible. So if you like our stuff, go do it.
Did one with DK recently?
Yeah, I did one with DK. If you missed that, where we weren't just talking about the state of esports journalism, which is occasionally a niche topic for a lot of you because you're not all esports.
Can become a trap.
Yeah, but we did talk about a bunch of other stuff as well. So sorry, Sam, you got to beat me out there a fucking bunch. I might just do one episode where I just throw the word in just to fuck with you for an entire show. Like, but anyway, do go and support them, and of course, shout out to the patrons that brought the podcast back from the dead, so we can rap about Gats instead. Right, let's get on. Let's shout out to Akala, mate.
I just say it like that. I just say it like that. So it's cool. I know. He's just putting that in under the wire, like talking about them Gats.
Shout out to Akala. Anyway,
when Tim West talks and he's just like,
Tim
man, I caught a bullet, and you're like, please don't even do this.
Tim Westwood, you're in my neighborhood. You know what's good.
It's the big boy with it's when he's pressing all those buttons for like the soundboard. Get me out.
I'm 56 and the son of a vicar.
It's when someone comes on and does like a freestyle, but they're like a proper American hood rapper, and they're like, like push pound to the hood, and he's like, preach. So,
I know.
Get me out. You are like a 58-year-old man or something. Like, get me out.
I know. Preach. Church.
Straight up dog.
Exactly.
Straight up home slice.
Fire. Fire.
That's the bottom line.
Anyway, let's talk about Star Ladder. That was the event that was going on last time we were doing the show. We didn't talk about it in previous podcasts, although we did get asked who do we think was going to win. I can't remember if I got it right. I said G2 was a dark horse, and I think I said EG and Fnatic probably in the final. I think, but you can pull it up if you want.
I think from what I remember, the two we said we thought would win was EG or Vitality.
Yeah.
But obviously Vitality ended up doing really badly, and EG did win. So
yeah, there's lots of storylines coming out from this, right? So I'm gonna just do what we usually do, just pull out the ones that kind of leap off the page to me. First thing I got to talk about is, because we haven't really talked about them a lot, is Mousesports, and I think I brought this up before. This was a bit of a strange one because they're locked in this habit, Mousesports, of where they're like, they always lose their first best of 3. Like in every tournament, they're always behind. You know, they're always having to play catch up. And they came to this one and they lost to North on like the first day, right? Which probably shouldn't be happening, all things told, if we're just being honest about it, based on relative form, where they are in the rankings and stuff. Then they got a layup. They got to play that Invictus team, which ain't a thing. They won. And then, of course, they went up against Fnatic and lost, and they were out of the tournament. Fnatic obviously went all the way to the final. I think it's a bad time to play Fnatic in general right now. They're clearly revitalized. But there's a lot of people saying, you know, we've hit that Pete Carrigan problem, right? Where now what everyone's doing is they're all saying, he's taking his bloody team as far as it can go. Do we need to make roster changes and stuff? And I was talking about this on Pika's Advantage when I went on as a guest the other day. I'm like, I don't think there's any like benefit to making a roster change here if you looked at it, because the obvious person, sadly, would be probably Chris J would be the person you replace. I think he's like Mr. Mouse Sports, super versatile. I don't think his statistics bear it out. Like, for example, he was the best player in that North series that they lost. So I don't know. I just think sometimes you're just going to have to accept that with a team like this, especially a team comprised of young players, a team that the star players in the team are notoriously temperamental form-wise, like Rops and Woxic, right? You know, 1 minute they're world beaters, the next minute they might go missing. That's just how it is. I think you've just got to stay the course with Mouse Sports until eventually, you know, Chris J decides to hang up his mouse, whenever that might be. And I don't think it's as bad as it looks. They had a bad placement here at Star Series, but I think they're still a very competitive team. And I still think in 2020, there's probably like some very good deep runs, maybe even pick up like some tier 2 tournaments, maybe get to the final of a tier 1 tournament. I think there's bright things in Mouse Sports' future, but a lot of fans seem like they're to be losing the faith, especially off the back of this result here in Star Ladder.
I think the thing, by the way, if I lag out any moment, just tell me and I'll pick up wherever I cut off. The biggest problem I see with the Mouse Sports lineup is they almost never get the big placing. So actually, no matter what they do in the end, the results alone aren't enough to say, well, don't worry about the form. You look at the results. We finished top 4, top 6. It's actually rare they make top 4. But then they're always a team that you think has a chance to do it. And the worst thing, I think the thing that kills me the most is even usually when they get eliminated from tournaments, they end up playing one of the top teams and playing them really close. So every time you watch those games, you're like, fuck, they're this close away from being a top team themselves. But as you mentioned, they can also lose to some of the middle teams. And just generally, like, they're one of those teams where it's like close but no cigar. It's like, it actually doesn't matter if you're close a million times. Like, eventually that gets so that people will, as you see now, just be out on you and think, right, yeah, you're probably close to the best, but not the best. So one of the problems I see with their lineup is, generally, I think for the team of players, they've done pretty decently. Like, they've done a good job with this squad. But I do think we've basically discovered that at this moment in time, some of the players aren't good enough to be world beaters. Like, the two that really stand up for me is Woxic and Frozen. Like, Frozen, I can give a pass to. He's so young, and he is occasionally having those tournaments. That's like, hey, up further next year, maybe that's when you have your breakout and you become a really good player. But unfortunately, Woxic's the one that I feel a little bit like out on. As Hellraisers, I used to think to myself this, like, if he has a good game, he's just a stud. If he has a bad game, he's in Hellraisers. Like, it's probably a hard team to play in. I actually think generally his form goes the same even when he's in Mouse. He's a very up and down player. So he can sometimes have maps where he's the best player on the server and you think, great, the superstar player Carrigan needs. But there are definitely tournaments where Woxic's just off his game and then it's like you don't have enough firepower, unfortunately, to win these big events. So I feel as though they're actually a team called like No Man's Land in sports, where they're good enough top 10, they can go close with the top teams, but I don't know if this squad can actually like be. And so I will say, like you mentioned, because of the fact that especially Frozen is so young, Rops is himself still pretty inexperienced, there's a possibility you don't do any roster move and next year they could actually improve. They're a rare team where I think that's possible, but I can see why the impetus is there, why people feel like you have to make a change, because if you want them tomorrow to become way better, that isn't going to happen with this squad. Like, you've kind of seen, like, actually they're a fairly consistent squad. Like, the kinds of teams they'll beat and lose against are I kind of like make sense. It's just that they don't beat the top teams most of the time, sadly. Even though, as I say, they're playing them close. So I've watched loads of those games, and I always think they're going to break through, but they just don't do it.
Yeah, and like Woxic's a tough one for me because I agree with you. I think when he's on his game, he's a great player to watch. I don't think right now, especially like because he's an AWPer, you can go out and get a kind of equivalent replacement. I think we're about
it's tough to replace him, I'll say that.
Yeah, well, listen, I think we're about to enter into a great drought of like good AWPers internationally. I think that's coming because we're getting like people starting to retire and drop off. You know, your Oscars, your Guardians. I ain't really seeing a lot of people out there that are like stepping up and replacing players of that caliber right now with the AWP, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's like a trend. I don't know if there's an in-game reason for it. I don't know if it's because other guns are just kind of, people are focusing on the overpowered rifles we got right now or whatever, but it's going to be tough. And Woxic probably is like going to become considered an almost better AWPer than he actually is just by virtue of the lack of competition, So I think holding on to anybody that's competent with that gun right now is definitely a boon and something you want to do, because I think we're going to get back to the days like, how they used to say about NIP, when they were dominating. Oh, they don't have they can't last. They don't really have a good recognized AWPer or whatever, I think we're going to get back to those days where you're probably just going to see teams that don't have designated AWPers almost through necessity because there aren't any. So I'm very torn on Woxic, but I still stand firm on the idea that I don't think mousesports need to make any replacements and they shouldn't do any knee-jerk stuff, right? It's like
the real problem is nobody in their team is bad. So it's like on paper, you don't want to make a move. It's just that at the same time, you do want to see them win a tournament. You want to see them have a chance to become champions. So yeah, I think that's a tough one to make because I agree. Like I actually do think it's a good squad. It's just they haven't had the placings. Yeah. You have eventually got to get some, seconds or win a small tournament. You got to do something eventually to kind of earn your keep.
Yeah. So yeah, tough one. I know it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow for mousesports fans, but I don't think it's as bad as it sounds. I mean, keep in mind as well, bar one or two teams.
There's a lot of potential with this squad still. Even one absolutely. Move, you could be there. Yeah.
I mean, bar one or two teams, this is about as competitive as an event as you're probably going to see, right? So it's like, it just happens like that sometimes, especially if you're a team like mousesports. The other story, like what you brought them up, is Vitality. Like, I don't know, dude. Everybody got hyped because they made it to the final of which event was it? Was it DreamHack Malmo?
No. Yeah, it was Malmo. Yeah, DreamHack Malmo.
Yeah. So they made it to the final of DreamHack Malmo. Everyone's all getting jacked up on the idea that, wow, they've got Shocks now. They're going to be really, really good. I still wasn't convinced. I felt that was kind of like the peak. You've got to be all fired up at that point. You've got your first tournament. You want to prove everybody wrong. And now we're entering into what I call the classic French hours, right? Like, they're getting 7th to 8th at tournaments that they probably should have gone deeper in. If you look at the results as well, like, I think they had a pretty, like, again, easy run in terms of who they were playing and who they should be able to beat. They played North again. They played that Invictus. So nice and easy there. They win both of those best of threes like you'd expect. Then I think they went up against, was it Fnatic next? They played? Renegades. Yeah, they lost to Renegades, which is bullshit. Then they lose to Fnatic. Whatever, that can happen. And then they're in the lower bracket where it's like a must-win game against Furia. Now, Furia, that's a gimme for a team like Vitality. They should be styling out on those guys. Furia haven't been relevant as a team for a long, long time. This is like the best run that they've had, certainly since they brought in Henny, but, since they had that little breakout party at ECS when everyone was raving about them. Vitality should have put them to bed. And that series, the nature of the defeat, it's like really embarrassing, honestly. If you go and look at it, they get absolutely bodied on Mirage, but Vitality's pick was Nuke, and it's like, it's 16-9. That really isn't a close game on Nuke at all. And it's the same old story. Like, ZywOo was great in that series, but everybody else, I think everyone else on average got like 20 kills in 2 maps, which is just, same old, right? I mean, if you add in Shocks for firepower and he's still like lagging that far behind, ZywOo, that's a really, really bad sign. Like, Apex never got going. So I don't know. I mean, I think overall, this is like super disappointing for Vitality. They were losing best of threes to teams they shouldn't be losing best of threes to here. And when you consider they've gone all in on this idea that Shocks is going to be like the wingman to ZywOo and it's going to take them to the next level, this Vitality here probably looked about as bad as it did at the major, honestly.
No, I agree. Like, this particular tournament should not count in that. Like the fact that they finished like what was it here, like 7th to 8th or something like that doesn't actually count in their favor whatsoever. Because in this particular tournament, as you say, they actually just benefited from getting to play North because North had beaten Mouse, etc. Like they got like a way easier initial bracket, and then basically everyone vaguely competent they just lost to, and in fact lost 0-2. And you can even add in, because ZWOO's stats at the end of the tournament were still so good, that makes it even more egregious that you were this bad, because that means it's not. Here's the thing: if I see his stats were bad, I could just say, "Oh, well, that's why they did badly." You know, the star player was off, whatever. He gets his no matter what. So I agree. Like Vitality's problems were clearly bigger than NBK, and they weren't going to be solved just by bringing in Shocks. Like I notice on Reddit, people keep finding all these different angles to big up RPK. Like apparently, supposedly he had like the best stats the last 3 months in like pistol rounds or something, you know. And there's all these reasons why. But again, it's like you can make great arguments as to why a player should stay in a team, but at the end of the day, when you are a team that has enough resources pumped into you, you must get the placings. The placings really are all that matters. Like there is no cool story that's like, well, I did well and I finished 7th to 8th, and then, you know, I had a chance, but I came 9th to 12th. And you know what? This one time I won a best of 1 and I came top 5. It's like those stories are whack, mate. Like at the end of the day, if you're a good team, and this is supposed to be a good team that's paid a big buyout for Shocks, yeah, at this point in time, I could argue with how open the scene is and no Team Liquid and Astralis at this tournament, Vitality should be winning it. That's what they, with their mindset is.
I agree.
These are events that we win because like it's wide open. We're the squad that made the upgrade. So I think this is a very underwhelming result for them. Like way worse than even the placing shows, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, it's just the nature of the best of threes that they lost, because you're waiting for them to kick on and really start challenging.
They really weren't competitive. It was sad.
Not at all. So I don't know what Vitality are gonna do next, or how they're gonna kind of like process this, metabolize this loss. It's gonna be interesting to see. But they definitely need to bounce back next tournament. I mean, this is it's a high profile sign, and you pick up somebody like Shocks. That's high profile. You should be having an impact straight away. I kind of feel as well like I glossed over probably what the biggest failure at this tournament was. And it's going to lead on to another story, which I'm going to get in a minute, right? I'll tell you what to pull up in a sec, Sam. But let's talk about Na'Vi, because I nearly glossed over that. Now, I've been preaching the Na'Vi evangelical a little bit, that since they got rid of Zeus and Edward and brought in, Boomich and Guardian, this is basically a team that should be looking to win some tournaments.
They also should be thinking they're going to win this tournament, of course. With no team looking at Astralis, it should be wide open, right? Them and EG should be battling.
I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I had Na'Vi as well. Like,
all the experts I know are pretty hyped at Na'Vi, at least until this event.
Yeah, by the time we did the show, though, and we got asked about it, Na'Vi had already gone out. So it was like, fuck, dude. And they got knocked out by G2. It was 2-1. It was close. You had an overtime in the first map, 16-13 in the second. Electronic and Simple were great. Again, it's the standard thing that happened there. Guardian was missing. I mean, just failure to frag for him. But then it's like a fucking horror show, because how did Na'Vi get knocked out of this tournament, right? Well, they get knocked out of this tournament because they fucking lose to Heroic. Like, there ain't no way, surely, mate. Like, this is keep in mind, this is the Heroic that's just brought in Cadian. This is like a team that's still settling by itself. And they lose the 16.
And it's not like they themselves went on and did great things in the tournament or anything,
Listen, all this Heroic team, that they sit in the realm of what I call the spoilers. Like, they ain't never going to win shit. They're never even going to get a deep run. They're just going to catch. Yes. They're just going to have that one game. They're just going to catch you cold and fuck up your day and fuck up your tournament, right?
They'll get one person each time, don't they?
Yeah, totally. Like that's what I mean. Like every like if you've ever followed football in the UK, Wimbledon were like that. If you remember the old Wimbledon, the old crazy gang back in the fucking 90s, they would be in a cup. And like, they got no chance of winning it. They're not going to win silverware, right? Because they're not that kind of team. But they get fucking jacked up on the idea of just ruining like a Liverpool or a Tottenham or an Arsenal or a Man U, And they just go all out and they knock you out of a fucking tournament and then go out the next round themselves. Well, Heroic are like the Counter-Strike Wimbledon right now, Meanwhile, Na'Vi losing this, and again, it is predicated on a weak performance by Guardian. You know, what you can't do is jump out of the frying pan of having to carry Zeus and Edward and get into the fire of having to carry somebody who isn't producing, and crucially is the guy who's meant to be the designated AWPer taking the AWP off Simple when we all know how effective Simple was. And I get it. Simple says he wants the rifle, but right now you'd be better cutting Guardian, picking up almost any half decent CIS region rifler and sticking Simple back on the AWP. And there are players out there, man. Like, don't tell me that the fucking guys at the Vanguard, like, you know, I know they said they turned down Na'Vi before. I kind of feel that was almost like an indictment on the Zeus era of Na'Vi, right? I don't think they're going to turn them down again. So this is like an appalling performance at this tournament for Na'Vi, and I thought they were already a little bit unlucky in the nature of how they lost at the previous tournaments they've been at. I've got to say it. I never thought I would say it. I think the Guardian pickup is a fucking bust.
Looks like it is. Looks like it is. Because here's the thing, even in that first tournament where they actually did well, they made top 4, he wasn't even that good there. He just had like the odd map he was all right on, and you kind of hoped he would get better. So I know it's only like 2 tournaments in, but put it this way, if he has one more tournament that's bad soon, I would even consider like making the cut, especially as the thing that kills this story for me is since he's a legendary player and he's a player that's been to the top many, many times, normally I'll give that kind of a person more leeway. But if you've heard some of the rumblings that his poor form is also by like ethic at the moment and that's lazy with practice and stuff. So if that's true, that's a can't have you be like bad in the game, not even be someone who's like totally winning Russian and be lazy and not put in like not grind to be good. Because what you'd hope in this team is that this isn't just Guardian's last team. It's a chance to try and win a major on the way out and do big things, you know. So like I need Guardian trying to get to his peak level. So the Guardian I've seen so far, as you said, it's worse than he's just playing bad. He just looks like if you replaced him with anyone from CIS who's half decent, they'd be a team with a chance to win. They'd be really good.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on here as well, but I mean, if we're gonna call out like, you know, Vitality since the Shocks pickup, Na'Vi a fair game as well, and like they've 100% got to get it together. It started out so promising, and it's already going backwards, and I've said it. I think a solution is, you know, if Simple wants to stick on the rifle, you go get Jame. If Simple's willing to pick up the AWP again, then you probably go get Buster. Like, if a Vanguard's getting touted as being sold to fucking VP and people are speculating about what's going on with that team anyway, you can definitely get at one of them players and be like, listen, what you want to play with a Vanguard for? You had your purple patch, you know what I mean? You got to the major fucking final. Like, you ain't doing that again, so why not come to Na'Vi? We actually got a chance of winning something. So, but anyway, so yeah, I nearly glossed over that. But yeah, it's a pretty big story too. Right, hang on. What was the other one I wanted to bring up? I'm not going to talk about NIP. I feel that's like beating a dead horse. Let's talk about G2 and this international lineup that they've been putting together. As I said, I was like we had them down as dark horses when we got asked for the viewers question last episode. They didn't quite live up to that billing. But they did have some very good results here. Again, if you go through all the scalps they took along the way, you got Na'Vi in there. Trying to think who else they beat. It was Na'Vi. They beat Vanguard. They beat NIP. And then eventually lost to Fnatic, who made it to the finals. So, and that was a pretty good series. There was those, 16-11, 16-14, 16-12. It's close. It's back and forth. Everybody really pulled their weight, I would say, throughout the tournament. There was no legislating for like Brolan. That was the series Brolan went off. Like that was his best performance I think I've ever seen him have, actually. So you can't necessarily legislate for that, but I think we just need to talk about how well Nexa has been doing. There was a lot of question marks about whether or not Nexa could just frag out if he wasn't the in-game leader and was working under another in-game leader's tactics, which of course is what he does at Amanek. People have told me various things over there. Like some people are saying it's all Amanek, it's the same old style. Other people are telling me, Nexa gets to like do mid-round calls and give input, like kind of like a vice captain, a vice caller, whatever you want to call it. I don't know about that. All I know is Nexa's fucking balling out of control and playing really well. I think Hunt has been good. Maybe not as good as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was like going to be wrecking faces, but it is different when you're in a team where the overall fragging capability gets shared out, and everyone gets kind of a more even distribution. Jax is still playing well form wise. Kenny ain't King Kenny, but he's still pretty good. I just think, unfortunately, right now, anybody who's playing Fnatic bar one or two elite level teams are going to have a bad time because they're hitting the sweet spot. I think Fnatic are a real danger. So it was just unlucky. I think had they been on the other side and been able to dodge Fnatic, they could have easily been like semi-finalists here, or maybe even finalists. But overall, I think they've made great progress. I think Ocelot's been vindicated in making the pickup. I think Hunter and Nexa have been vindicated. If people were speculating they were only looking good because they were playing on crazy, I think they've proven they're, top-level European players right now. And I think the future is a lot more bright for G2 than it was back in the day with the all-French lineup. I just think they need to get to a final. They need to have a really convincing run, maybe even pick up a tier 2 tournament, a trophy or something, just to really settle the nerves and get those guys kind of used to what they're doing, used to the idea of winning, and kind of, getting G2 fans excited again.
Yeah, I actually think these two pickups, in contrast to some of the pickups we've discussed earlier, so far it looks great. Like, even when they haven't, like in the first tournament, like maybe one of them had a bad match here or there. Now that they've played these first two tournaments, and look at these events they're playing as well, by the way, like they're getting a lot of maps under their belt. Because the thing about this tournament being double a limb is, like, for example, I know the Fnatic players played like 21 maps each, etc. Like, you get a lot under your belt to play. So in that context, these results actually, they might not look that crazy in terms of the final placing, but as you say, who you're beating, how you're matching up with teams, like the actual like flashes of potential are very legit. They look very tangible. And I think probably the most crazy thing about this squad, if you contrast them with, even though they're not truly a French team anymore, contrast them with Vitality. Tell you what, this squad has more fragging than Vitality does. Because of the moves they've made, they now have a pretty legit set of players. Like, where are the weak spots? Like, actually, they've got a pretty solid squad. So if they can just keep developing, get their style down a little bit, I already feel that they're quite close right now to breaking through to that top group of people. I actually feel like this move might end up better than I initially thought when they made the pickup. I thought they would just get fragging alone, but it feels like the blend's been fairly quick.
Yeah, actually, I think so.
Like
too.
I say, it's outshining the Vitality move, put that way.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, like that we're talking about international lineups like this, like betting very quickly. Like, people don't realize this was like a huge fucking gamble. This could have backfired spectacularly. And even to the point where there's a parallel universe where G2 is stuck with two like Serbian players that they can't ever sell on. You know what I mean? Like that they're just there in the contract gulag. But it hasn't worked out like that at all. And in fact, if anything, probably the next piece that comes into this might be could even be another crazy player, if they feel that, like, to go to the next level rather than looking at a French solution. Or now it opens up just having international players in general. They're obviously conversing in English. They're obviously doing the tactics and strats in English. Everybody seems to be able to understand each other, and that's only going to improve over time. So I think, yeah, absolutely, the gamble 100% paid off. I just feel like, if next couple of tournaments, I think G2 will definitely,
and by the way,
do something a bit more.
Just before I forget, this is another example I would suggest personally that goes in favor of Malak being a good coach. Look at, he's totally. Now had these like two totally different squads, neither of which on paper looked like they're a surefire slam dunk, that he's quickly developed in a good squads. Like they're running, the time it takes them to hit the ground running with these moves they've made since he's been the coach has been very legit. Like, it looks like he's putting in the hours doing his job.
Yeah.
And they have changed the culture within G2. There's none of that French bullshit of like just trying half the time or not practicing. It feels like they've become a real team.
So what I'm doing now is where is it? I've been trying to find this story that happened, and I don't know if it's been deleted. So Sam, I'm gonna have to try and get you to pull it up.
What was the premise?
Yeah, well, this is what I wanted to talk about in relation to Na'Vi. I've been quickly searching it, but I couldn't get it. But this is a big deal and it needs to be talked about, right? So during the tournament, the admin the admin that was basically behind Na'Vi at the time decided to go and publicly like leak stuff.
This is mental.
No, this is so ridiculous. Publicly leak stuff that the players were saying during the game, that the coach was saying to the players during the game.
Was it a tweet? Was that where he did it? I think it was, right?
It might have been that VK or whatever.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I know it was like in Russian, just publicly though.
Yeah, but yeah, it was publicly available. If somebody can get like the Reddit link with it, that'd be great. Sam can get.
I think this is it. Starlight, a referee about Na'Vi stands behind them during games.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it. They used the word fucking referee out of nowhere. I've been looking for admin.
Yeah.
I was searching. So anyway, the translation was Simple is responsible for discipline, but he's raging at his teammates. Everyone's afraid to stop him raging. Guardian tilts and he can't kill. They're trapped in this cycle. Then Blade paused the game and said Boomich has to start being a captain and not just a player. So, I mean, first of all, that's very interesting to get that level of insight. So let's just analyze that statement. I think that does point to some of the issues that Na'Vi have been having for sure. And it's like, if you're Boomich, how the fuck do you ever rein in a player like Simple? How are you ever going to tell Simple how to play? But this is where Blade, I think, has to help Boomich, right? Like, Blade's got the authority. Blade's got the tenure. Blade's got the understanding of how to talk to star players because he's done it his entire career. Like, Boomich is a little fucking tyke, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a kid. Obviously, this is a very intimidating situation for him. First ever IGL.
And he has
got
to
one of the
switch his
biggest
role.
stars.
He's just been in the team as a new guy, hasn't he?
Yeah. So, the idea as well that, like, if you just you slam your fists down and shout at people, it fixes everything. That's what Zeus was doing. And trust me, it was putting people's nose out of joint anyway. So, it's a bit more complicated than that. But it does show what I always thought would be true. Like, that may be one of the reasons that Guardian, because he's another player, by the way, that can't play in an environment where people are raging and shouting at each other and drama beef. Like, he that's not who he is. Like, he was brought up in the old Reason gaming team in Counter-Strike, where notoriously, if anybody ever raged at anybody, you would just out the team. Like, PHP, the captain, just wouldn't have that. And they had a team where it was basically a group of players that all understood what each other were meant to be doing. If you lost a round, no biggie. No one makes a mistake while we're on the server playing the game, but we'll talk about all the mistakes we made when we do like a demo review. But he had no truck with people raging and stuff in games, and that's where Guardian really came to prominence. That's where he broke out and became like one of the great AWPers in CS, and that's the environment he's not only used to, but it's the one he flourishes in. So that probably does explain a little bit why Guardian's having a bad time. It's not just that. He has been pretty awful just in terms of aim and reaction time as well, but it's obviously something that's preying on his mind. So I don't know how you feel about this insight into the team overall, but it sounds like I think a couple of things going on. I think Simple recognizes he's lost his form a little bit, and he's getting frustrated with that. And I think,
and also you probably think when Zeus has gone, now's my time. Now, no, everything's supposed to be perfect, isn't it? So I'd be frustrated if I got rid of Zeus. Then now it hasn't instantly gone the way I hoped it would. You can see why that'd be frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. So,
and this is also like about the worst placing you could have had at this tournament. Like it couldn't have gone any worse, could it? Let's face it. So like this would be the most stressed that the new lineup would be. That makes sense.
Oh, totally. But then just on the point, I don't know what
the more abstract point's the one I wanted to have a rant about.
Yeah. Now listen, what this ref did is some of the most outrageous, unprofessional behavior. Like I don't even know where I would rank this.
No, this would be a reasonable ground to fire this immediately.
Oh, well, they did fire
immediately.
This guy.
Oh, okay, good.
So we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Sam, by the way, you can go find the thread if you want where he gets fired as well. That'll be useful. But spoilers. Yeah, I can't even imagine what you're thinking. And there's some potential repercussions of this because now people are starting to think about something that I've always been, I brought this up before. You put these volunteer people in a booth or behind a team, right? Now people might start wanting to start, putting shit together. Where are these leaks coming from?
Yep.
Right? And then also, fucking hell, if I was an in-game leader, right? And I knew one of the refs that had been stood behind a team at a tournament. And I trusted that ref to understand the game well enough. I might want to slip him a 50 or 100 to tell me some stuff about their tactics, about their setup, what they're doing, how they're rolling. Get some demos, get some inside intel, try and get in their heads.
You'd be able to the guy's shoulder, look at his fucking Glaves notebook and see the strats. You have the actual like potential for abuse is crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, it's insane to me. So the idea that a referee would and man, this is what I'm talking about. The pure cancer of the fucking clout chaser, the cancer behavior of the clout chaser. Like,
have you noticed as well, by the way? What I wanted to say was this. Why is the CIS region so infested with clout chasing? Now that might sound weird. Why am I singling out CIS region? Right, every region in the world has like gossip and stuff. No, think about back in your mind through CS:GO history. How many times have you heard stories come out in the CS:GO scene, in CIS scene rather? And it's not only that it's like really private info, but it'll just come out like through a big figure. Like some other guy from a team will just be like, by the way, guys in the community, that my rival team's going to make a massive player change. These players are joining. The other guy's left because he hates them. And the manager said that he's going to fire the new recruit. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like,
team owners
an anonymous person.
Team owners doing it.
Like, what I don't get is this. They always get mad at me in the CIS region, I've told you. And the line they say is the same every time. It's the same thing the Brazilians tell me. You should respect us. Why don't you respect our scene? Why the fuck would I respect your scene? You don't even respect each other. Like you just act like little snitches, basically. Because like, here's the thing: I get it that info will leak out through the scene, but like I say, the distinction for me is when info leaks out through the Swedish scene. It's not like JW just tells us who's joining NIP directly on his Twitter. Like it comes out like passively, doesn't it? Like these guys are like with how much the clout chasing is really disgraceful.
Like, listen, I just don't get it. It's like I say, it was one of the things that I used to hate Zeus. Not hate, you know what I mean? Like,
he was definitely a fucking.
But like, just another clout chaser, like just everything. Filming people at after parties and stuff. Like, what you doing?
You have to figure as well. People like him. Bear in mind, he's a legend of. You have to remember, guys. No matter what we make jokes about, in the CIS region, Zeus is like their god B. He's a fucking legend to them. So if your most legendary leader himself is like a 14-year-old 4chan kid just posting stupid stuff, well, you can imagine it's going to influence the scene, isn't it, mate? If that's your elder statesman. Like, it's a shame people like Blade aren't the ones that get held up. They're the legends, mate. They're the ones who behave like you want a legend to.
It's like, if you want to get that information out as well, right? Let's say the purpose of it is like to derail a competitor, and you're doing it like some corporate espionage type bullshit, right? Then like just leak it to a journalist.
That's why you know it's for clout, because they...
Yeah, exactly.
Like, even a really famous person thinks, I want this tiny Twitter bump from this drama.
Yeah. They just fucking love that shit. And it's like, listen, like I said, the most wretched, servile, pathetic creatures on earth, like, are just clout chasers. Like, it's just the worst, man. Like, we had them in League of Legends for years. Remember how they call themselves like Twitter analysts?
Yes.
And they would sit there and just watch a veto, and like whatever the captain of the team or the coach of the team had picked, like, you know, or whatever team comp they put together, they'd be going like, well, this is wrong because of this, like all full on benefits.
They were basically like the
esports
equivalent of the people who are like, well, actually, and then they just try to nitpick the most, you know, like, well, actually, 6 people didn't die. It was actually 5.5, and one of them died later on life support. It's like, all right, yeah, well done. Let's make this all about you. My mistake. You know?
Yeah, and like it's ridiculous. It's like I say, you know, think about and they never learn neither. Right? Like that Fishiest dude kid, like, mate, fucking move on to something else now. Like, how many times you gonna fucking... You're not even missing a bullseye, mate. You're missing a fucking dartboard. You're putting the dart in a fucking wall. The fucking landlord's getting super pissed off, mate. He's having to buy all new plastering every time you throw a fucking dart. You're that fucking shit. It's not like you're close to the bullseye, mate. You're off the fucking
shot.
Like, Valve gonna make an announcement at the major of the...
Say that saying, this is as good as a mile. They don't mean it literally, mate. Like, you're like, I'd take any... You have to.
He's gone.
Big
has he?
lags.
Oh, that's a big man.
Right,
that's a big man. Like, there you go. You back. Yeah, no. You had a big man. Like, you had a big man. Like, the last thing I heard was, "You got to."
All right, you've got to at least try and get close. Like I would even say, crazy concept, Richard. Maybe verify a story before leaking it.
I know.
The
Just
keyword is
maybe.
verify, isn't it? You know.
Just maybe. But then, like, he's doing it again with that Avanga being sold to VP. And the madness is, I had people sat in the chat when we were talking about that going, well, my sources. Who the fuck are your sources? You a Twitch chat cunt. What are you talking about? Your source, mate. What's your fucking source? What are you talking about? Now, even if that turns out to be true, everyone's fucking straight denying it. It's pretty embarrassing. I wouldn't want to take that risk. And again, what are you doing it for? What people don't know is I tried to fucking square up with this, Rush B Media guy, right? And Fishiest dude. And I basically got VP Esports to agree to give him, like, a job and as, like, journalists, but there would be editorial oversight for all of their stories, obviously. Because that's what they need, right?
Yeah.
They never took me up on that offer. Do you know why? Because doing good journalism work ain't the same as Twitter clout.
Oh, it isn't, of course.
You get less attention.
Imagine an editor telling you, actually, you can't run this story.
Exactly.
Yeah, we haven't verified it. We haven't got a story there. And he's like, but I have this will blow up, dude. Like, if I get this out now, it's like, yeah, but we haven't verified it. Like, yeah, that's the sad thing, by the way. Here's the thing: if you sat at home and you're thinking you'd like to be an esports journalist, it's not all breaking a big story and getting all the plaudits. Like half the time, by the way, and this is the reality people won't understand. Half the time, as an investigative journalist, it's doing the legwork and then some other cunt beating you by 10 minutes or by half a day when you were going to have that story. And you put in all that work and you get nothing for it. You get paid zero for that time you invested. Now you know about a lot about the information, etc. But like as a result, the incentive eventually becomes, if you have no ethics, why don't I just skip this whole process? I keep getting caught in the process, don't I? When I have to verify it, I have to run the story down. This guy's beating me. So how do I beat him? Why don't I just go live with almost no verification? That's the temptation, isn't it, to the hack, unfortunately.
No, but and this is what they do, and it's like some of it's just ridiculous shit. Like this. How could a referee ever think in his fucking mind I was behind the team today at a tournament, and guess what? They were arguing, and guess what they said in their comms? What, you ever thought that was acceptable? And you know what? In the back of the mind, they're thinking, this is my big moment now. I got some insider information. Everyone's going to fucking love me. Well, first of all, it's Na'Vi fans that need to know, but you putting this information out public, which, by the way, Na'Vi, no one's denying it because it is the stone cold truth, right? It's interesting to know, but Na'Vi fans should fucking hate you. Because now you just created more pressure on that team, right? That's a good job, Sam. By the way, that's banging. And then the other thing is like the guy honestly thought he was going to get away with it and just skate. Like, can you imagine in a world?
I know.
So anyway, and this is another reason why I couldn't find the thread. Now he's a judge. He's a referee and a judge. We all call him admins. All of a sudden, everyone getting new words for it now. But anyway, basically, he got fired, as he had to be. And there was some people. His statement was,
I'm going to go ahead and guess some idiots probably defended this guy, did they?
Right. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I'll say that.
Okay, fair
but
enough.
Anyway, his statement was, it was unprofessional, unethical, and thoughtless. I absolutely shouldn't have made this public, and I betrayed Na'Vi. I mean, again, he don't realize you ain't just betraying Na'Vi by doing that. You're betraying your whole company, by the way. The repercussions for this could have been company-wide.
As well.
Yeah.
Give us a break, guys.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you just had all that fucking major stuff going on, and now this. But anyway, I absolutely shouldn't have made this public, and I betrayed Na'Vi by making it public. I liked being a ref. I wanted to build esports. I wanted to tell about it. Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about it as it became a huge part of my life. And there's still so many people who know so little about it. So I fucked up. I should be more thoughtful. I got my punishment. I want to thank everyone I've been working with. It was a pleasure to work and learn new things with you. I hope everyone knows you got to think before you act. I mean, listen, we all know that, yeah? So I don't know what you were fucking doing. But generally, the consensus is that, yeah, what he did is inappropriate. It's the right move. He got fired. Worthy of a termination. Like, generally, Reddit seemed to have a good handle on this one. So congratulations. The people who posted in here saying he deserved to be fired. Congrats. You're good. You're all normal.
Well done. For once, you got it right.
Yeah, exactly. somebody.
I'm surprised they weren't like, oh, he stole their opinions.
I did like as well. By the way, there was someone who just completely missed the point. There were some banger comments, but you had to go right down to the bottom before. Right, somebody went, "These so-called journalists leaking business matters, and Reddit moves. Reddit sleeps. A guy leaks team comms. Pitchforks out.
Real shit.
Right. Like, hang on, right?
Real shit.
Yeah, real. Hang on, bro.
Like, you know what?
Hang on, bro, though. What
This
you
is the
saying,
thing,
though?
yeah.
Like, so it's a journalist's job to be leaking this, and he's signed like no, agreement to keep stuff secret in the booth and all that, right? And you're saying that's bad, but a guy who actually violated is, like the trust and everything of the job he directly did. Apparently, that's pitchforking, mate. That was from #1096. What a genius! Like
by the logic of this guy, he would go like this. When a journalist reports a big business deal coming up, you sleep. But when your family physician reveals that you have AIDS, you get annoyed at that for some reason. Why the double standard? I know exactly. Like, what?
Real AIDS?
Like, give me a break. What's mad is, I always bring this up. The thing that tilts me the most is the people who just tell you that stuff isn't happening that they don't know about. Because they are just gaslighting you. Like, the people who say it, like it's one thing if they just said, I just don't like people using the word mentally ill. It's when they're like, but also everyone who disagrees with you is mentally ill. It's like, no, I'll give you an example. Here's an example of a daily interaction, right? So I had a person who, because I did a video yesterday for one of the sponsors of my YouTube channel, right? Which is a skin ecosystem. It's a skin marketplace. It is in no way, by the way, gambling in any way. It has nothing to do with gambling whatsoever. But this person, when I did a video, his reply went like this. He said, you got mad at Hitchell TV when they were sponsored by CSGO Fast and promised people easy skins. Yet now you are sponsored by a gambling company who promises people easy skins. It's like, that is mental illness, guys, because nothing about the facts of what he said actually line up with reality. Like, I am not sponsored by a gambling company. I am not sponsored by a company that promises easy skins. I'm sponsored by a company that basically says you can buy skins from us. Like that. There's not even any connection. So in that scenario, like that person, I can't engage with that because it is just mental illness. Like that guy lives in a fantasy world where he just happens to think that I live in the same world as him. So like, there's a lot of people like that on the internet. There's too many people, some would say.
No, I agree. Like I've said it a bunch of times, and I'll say it again. Like when somebody just says something to you that like is so divorced from reality, like what do I do here? And then you go, listen, you are showing signs of mental illness. Yeah, they're called delusions, psychopathy, whatever you want to call it. But basically, one of the key symptoms is if you imagine something that ain't real, but you behave like it is, you probably want to talk to a doctor, mate, because like just think about it. So I'll give you an extreme example. You know that guy that on the street corner who tells you he used to work for the CIA and he gets his messages through the fillings in his teeth. I'm just going to tell you that ain't real. Like, I know you're surprised. That he's been doing deep cover.
I believe it.
He's been doing deep cover, being homeless for 10 years, right? I know that, but his box is gone, and it's sad, and someone should get him some help. So when you say to me, well, Richard Lewis, you said this, and it's like, no, but I didn't. I've never said that, though. Never said that. Like, there's this guy, Duncan, you'll love it, right? For 3 years, there's this guy on Twitter, and he claims that during MLG Columbus, well, this was his first story, I got asked what I thought about Na'Vi's tactics, and I went, oh, those tactics are R-word. I'm just going to play it safe for Twitch TOS. Okay. So you know which R-word I'm talking about. Okay. And I never said that because I wouldn't say that.
Is this supposed to be on camera, you mean?
Yeah.
There's no way you'd say that on an event.
No, I know. There's no way I'd say that on an event, right? And so I said to him, I said, well, if I did say that, like, I don't remember it. No one remembers it. No one brought it up. There was no Reddit thread. There's no evidence of it on the internet. Couldn't you show it me in the VOD?
Back in that era, especially, that would be a clip for sure. Like that.
Yeah. And he said, oh, MLG deleted it. They memory hold it. But I'm like, but the VOD's right there. The whole
They're not
thing.
Stalin, What the fuck's he talking about? They're not doing shit.
But then every time I get brought up, like in a drama or whatever, he crawls out the woodwork and he tells this story again. But every time he tells it, the details change. So he came out of the woodwork again when that Overwatch thing was going on. No, it was the Pokeman. When Pokeman came in and wanted to sell his fucking bullshit, like, because he did a YouTube video about how sports betting odds are the best. And then, like, every underdog won, proving he's a fucking mug. But
I know,
anyway,
it's hilarious, wasn't it?
right? So this guy replied to him going, you should just ignore Richard Lewis. During an E-League broadcast last year, I'm like, wait, mate.
Here we go.
Your story's all over the fucking road. Now, I was saying to him, like, please just, I wasn't even being rude to him. I'm going, can you just engage with reality? Do you understand that your original story was I did this at MLG and you've been harping on about this for 3 years and now you're saying it's E-League? Can you please choose which one it is? And he's going, why are you personally attacking me? I'm going, I'm not personally attacking you. Was it E-League or was it MLG? Can you answer the question? And they won't answer the question because this is another true thing. It's like they say, you'll never wake up a sleepwalker, right? I mean, that's a myth. That's bullshit. Wake them up. It's fine. They don't die or nothing. But when it comes to like being that fucking gone, if you present somebody with objective fucking reality, sometimes they can have a real bad break. They can't engage with it. Happened to my mate when he had full-blown drug psychosis. He was when he got took to the hospital, he was sat in a car and he was staring at the glove compartment of the car and he was watching telly. But there ain't no telly in his glove compartment. Right? He was watching the football match on the TV. He made up a football match.
Wayne Rooney!
Yeah.
I wonder if that's how Tarek did it when he got on that plane one time where he was doing a long haul from like LA to Ukraine, and he did a photo where there was no entertainment system when he got on this like 11-hour flight. Like he must have been doing the same thing, just looking at the back of the chip, like, like 11 hours.
This is how I know so much about it, right? Because that story was mental. Okay, so I'll just tell the story. It's like a 4-minute deviation, and it's going to be some of that straight fire, off the cuff BTN content. It's really sad now because he's dead now. Like my mate is dead now. But like this story is like the sort of funny and scary part of like mental illness. So anyway,
it's all right though, because before he died, like he did actually get a car with a massive glove compartment, which is always a dream.
Yeah, it had a happy ending. He got his TV. No, listen, all right. Listen, right. So
that's so unreasonable. Isn't it?
No, listen. No. So what happened was he got hooked on them like fucking temazepam and all that, right? He was just popping them all the time. So he would go and have these unbelievable, like crazy lucid dreams. But when the psychosis started kicking in, he couldn't differentiate between what he dreamed. Right. When he woke up, he thought the dreams were real. So this one time, right, he had this dream where him and his family went to watch Wales play Croatia or someone in Eastern Europe in the football. And in his dream, they were all out there watching the game. And for some reason, they took his pet dog, Scooby, as well, right? So this is all true, I swear. You can't even make this up, mate. Can't even make it up.
Scooby, though, like...
Investigate mysteries, isn't he? Why else would he take him?
So, R.I.P. Scooby as well, by the way. So anyway,
he's dead as well as anyone.
Yeah, mate. It's sad. I think the entire family's gone, even the dog now. Yeah, rough story, mate. Anyway, no. But I'm trying to do the good bit. I'm trying to do the good bit. So anyway, so in his dream, what happened was there was a riot at the fucking stadium, right? And his mother and his dad got like detained, and the dog got put in a dog pound in his dream, right? So he woke up, he comes down the stairs, like, and he's going, oh, fucking hell, like, my mother and fucking and Roger have been fucking arrested in Croatia when we went to see the football, and they've got Scooby as well. And everyone's saying to him, like, yeah, but like, how have you got back from Croatia overnight in a day? And he's going, no, I got a late night bus because I had to come back and fix all this. And they're going, okay. So anyway, his mother walked in, come back from work, and he's like, going, fucking hell, you're back from Croatia. And she's going, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, Gar? And he's going, oh, you're back. We got to get Scooby now. Is Scooby around? Then the fucking dog comes in, and he's like, and she's going, like, what do you think happened? He tells the story, and then he goes like, oh, okay. And she just goes like, I think we should just take you to hospital. So they put him in the car. He sat in the car, like fucking fully trying to process like, what the fuck is going on by here? And he said he was watching highlights of the game that he imagined in his mind on his TV in the thing. And he got out the car And his mother said to him, like, "Are you all right?" And he went, "Yeah, I was just watching the goals from the game. Like, this is so silly. I don't know why you're taking me to the hospital." And she goes, "What were you watching the highlights on?" He went, "The TV in the glove compartment." And she's going, "It's a car. You do know we don't have a TV built into our glove compartment. We're not James Bond or nothing." And he slowly started to wake up to the fact he'd gone fucking mental. He'd gone mental. And he was like, "Yeah, you're right. I know deep down there ain't no TV in our car. Like, what the fuck?" So they had to put him in a home. Like he was sectioned. And I just feel like when I heard that story, it's like I see that every day on fucking Twitter. Legit, I see it every day. Like those motherfuckers wilding out, just imagining shit and telling me it's real, and I'm going, "You're mentally ill," and everyone goes, "How dare you?" Like I'm trying to help you, mate. You gotta, do you know what I mean? Like there ain't no, your mother's not coming back from Croatia, imaginary Croatia, to drive you to the hospital. The only person you've got is me. I'm trying to fucking save you here. Like it's fucking wild, dude. How psychotic people get.
Your mic's muted, Dunk.
Oh yeah, you're muted by the way, bro. There he goes.
Nah,
Well.
still can't hear.
Still gone.
Zoom in. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Can you hear me
yeah,
now?
yeah.
There we go. I don't know why I'm muted.
Massive bit of Prometheus there, with it? Right, what we got then?
What's ridiculous about that story is like some people who are too far gone like that, like you say, you can't even actually bring them back the way you think you would with like breadcrumbs of the story. Like, look, this doesn't match that, does it? Like, at the end of the day, like, we should just do a fucking crowdfunding initiative. Get all these fuckers off Twitter. We'll have, like, you know, the end of that movie, like, A Scanner Darkly, where they're all just, like, in some fucking, like, farm somewhere. They're all drug psychosis, like, reamed out victims. You know?
Substance.
We're just gonna have to do that. Yeah, we're just gonna have to make some farm for, like, the Twitter crowd. And they can just till potatoes for the rest of their lives. There's nothing else they can do at this point in time, is there? They're just done.
So, right, let's get back to Starladder, right? But yeah, anyway, if you're... Oh, this was the other thing I was going to make up. I think there's now an argument, by the way, for saying that admins or refs or judges or whatever the fuck we're calling them today should be signing them NDAs. Might make you think twice.
There should be a legal consequence.
Yeah, I think that's a new thing you bring in.
Especially because, as you said before, like, no one's going to think this, but especially judges that, like, for example, in this case, this guy knew Russian, didn't he? Like, in that particular scenario, if you get in with that guy, you might get some secret info about a team like Na'Vi that they wouldn't even be able to guess you could know, because they might think, well, you're Danish, you don't know fucking Russian. Like, the actual potential for abuse is even bigger than this. So I agree. Now that we've started to see some issues come from this, let's just put a bunch of rules in place. So at least there's a precedent as to what you do when someone's in trouble like that. Like, we know what the punishment is, what you're trying to avoid, etc.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm back.
Yeah.
I just finished talking.
Oh, no, I couldn't tell because it went like, it cut out. Right. So, good. Right. Anyway, back to Starladder. So, let's talk about the other storylines that came in, which are Furia, I guess. Do you want to talk about these guys a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
I again, on Pika's advantage, when asked about Furia, I basically said I felt this was a team that had kind of gone about as far as it could have gone.
Absolutely.
And that even with the addition of Henny, who's been like probably their best player of late since he come in, I still think you need too much to go right for this team for it to have a deep run. But it definitely went right out here. I mean, like, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of the teams they beat. I'm always going to say the higher ranked teams probably should have done better. But honestly, this is like the best Furia looked in a long time. It weren't an easy run for them by any stretch of the imagination. It started really bad for them. They were on the ropes right from the start because they lost the nip, and you thought it was going to be business as usual for Furia. But then they went on a run. They beat Firepower. They beat Vanguard. They then get to play Evil Geniuses. They lost in that series. That was a pretty good series again. I think Furia, even though they lost 2-0, 16-12, 16-13, again, it comes down to those one or two mistakes. So then they're fighting for their life. Next up's Vitality. You're like, they ain't going to win that. They win that. Then you're like, okay, well, now they got G2. They ain't going to win that. They win that. Then they get Renegades, and you're like, well, they ain't going to win that. They win that. And then they get Fnatic and take them to 3 maps. So this was like a fucking crazy... and again, super close series there. So this was like an almost unprecedented like throwback. This is the best they've looked since that ECS run they had. Best they looked since they brought Henny in the team. I just do kind of feel like it's a fucking aberration, frankly, because You need Kei Serato firing on all cylinders in this team. You need Jury firing on all cylinders on this team. You need Henny to not be temperamental and be consistent in this team. And you need that. That's the baseline for you to take a run at the top teams. So it's a great result for them and a reminder of what we like about this team to begin with, how exciting they are, how explosive they are. You know, a lot of heart, a lot of guts, a lot of determination. Like even when they were down massively in games, they get like 7-8 rounds on the bounce and bring it competitive again. But honestly, I can't see Furia ever living up to that potential when they were 5th in the world. I kind of feel like maybe we all got a bit ahead of ourselves.
I do think if you look at the other top teams in the game, as you said, like everything kind of needs to align to even have a result like this where they didn't win the tournament, but they still went pretty deep. And as you said, got some very nice results, either close games or direct wins over bigger ranked teams. The problem is their lineup, it's so much more obvious where the win conditions have to come from. Like the players you just named, 100% have to perform very well. Like there's no universe in which like art is just going to take over the game. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So like, I kind of do feel like this was the perfect storm of like all 3 of the big names had a really big tournament. Like Henny's stats, they're never going to be like simple numbers, but for his career, he's had really nice stats since he joined Furia. Like he's been having much, much better games than the Henny I remember from years ago, who was like a completely plateaued player. So that move itself, it's turned out to be a better move than I expected. That's actually looking like it gives them some firepower. The problem is, I don't think it's reasonable to actually think this can be a top team. Like I'll just give them props for the run and say, great underdog run, well done. Like everything came together. It's just like, the problem is, if you want to believe they're an underdog who's going to become legit, you shouldn't be thinking, well, they've sort of reached their potential. You think there's loads of potential to go. Is there loads of potential? Like, I think they've actually just done a good job with who they've got. Yeah, well done. I have to say, I thought they'd fall completely irrelevant. So even just this result is a big deal in my book. Like, actually makes them at least a player in the game. They might at least be on the fringes of some interesting results.
Yeah, and again, I think I wouldn't like put them down like the heroic spoiler status. I think this is an opponent you absolutely have to respect and prepare for every time you see them in the fucking, on the horizon. But it's just a little bit suspect for me if they're ever going to have that consistency. I think as well, there's probably going to be another roster change somewhere down the line in the next 3 months or something. I think there's still like some really good Brazilian players floating out there playing on teams that is like just...
There's surely got to be. Come on, man. There's got to be at least 1 or 2 that we haven't seen that must be really good. There's so many people playing.
Well, yeah, but I ain't even just talking about like people we don't know. I'm talking about people we do know. Like, I'm not talking about the people that have had like chance after chance after chance after chance. But I did see the announcement today, like that Bolts had just joined that Ints team, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, I still think he's a little bit better than that. But and I think if you put 1 more veteran into this team,
I agree. Yeah,
you probably
someone like Bolts would be a good shout.
We're probably talking.
Then want to do, yeah.
But I guess we'll wait and see where it goes. Obviously, they've just had a 3rd place here at
the obvious one would be is if you want the firepower, get Thorpes, isn't it? Like he's the obvious guy you'd try if you wanted to go for a gamble on a big name, So I agree. Like that's probably the other thing. You give this team a few months, they have a nice result here, they have a not great result there, they have a bad result, they have a decent result. Eventually, they themselves, I think, will come to the saying that like this is the finished 5-man lineup. Is it like we can change and get better?
Right. I'm gonna leave Renegades talk because we'll talk about them before the show ends. Let's just do the final then. Yeah, so Fnatic, runners up at this tournament, obviously won Malmo. So the golden effect continues. It's not just golden, obviously, and I think we got to talk about like a little bit of a weakness here that definitely was apparent in this final. Although I think people were mega overplaying it. Because I think, you have to understand, like 3 months ago, like you wouldn't even expected Fnatic to be making it to a final. So you can tell the fans, they come out and they nitpick about what's bad rather than looking at like the unbelievable amount of progress they've made just by virtue of adding Golden into the lineup and bringing Flusher back. So, but I think overall, like, the good, to start by focusing on the good, I think like the golden effect is very real. I think Flusher's playing better than I expected he would on his return. JW for the most part, although certainly not in the final, seems to be having some form. Crims is Crims, one of the best ever to touch the game. And obviously, Brolan's had a number of series here where finally you can see why everybody was excited about him back when he was like 16 and coming through the ranks. Because now, we're talking about like a 17-year-old kid or whatever he is, nowhere near his peak, nowhere near his skill ceiling, and he's getting better tournament to tournament. It's ridiculous, some of the series that he had in Malmo and out here in Star Series. And when you consider you probably got 2 more years before he's really fully matured at his peak, becomes the complete package, I think this is great. Sweden, this is like the first like Swedish talent that's actually coming through and living up to the billing and the hype in a long, long time. And definitely I feel like he's very well positioned. He's going to learn from some of the best people to ever play. He's got an in-game leader that's obviously very active and cares about tactics and people's development. I think Fnatic winning the tournament and making it to the final of the next tournament, like, you just got to say this move's legit, and that this 5 need to, if they do have any more problems on the horizon, they better work through it, because every time Golden's in the team, things happen, and they go and they win tournaments or get to finals and they look competitive. So I think Fnatic should be really happy with where they're at right now, even though in a second we'll talk about some of the issues they got.
Yeah, the thing about the Fnatic team that might be an interesting distinction to make is, I don't think, as I said on the last episode, I don't actually think, if you look at them as a team, they should win tournaments. Like, obviously this tournament, like 2 of the best teams in the world, it's still a good result. Oh, one thing I underestimated when they made this lineup again, because you could do this, is they have instant chemistry. Oh, obviously them played together in the past, and then they've had Poland since then. So obviously it's not like it's a brand new 5 team coming together, but like that's the craziest thing, is like the reason why they're so competitive in games against the absolute best teams. They're even beating squads that are supposed to be below them in terms of like the eye test. It's because the chemistry is like there instantly. Normally that takes months and months to get to. Like, they've had it from event 1, so that's already making them look really like above and beyond the parts that they have. Like, you can see that they don't need to have people have simple numbers to win a series. Like, they can get by with like just the minimum number of frags because they've got the team play, they've got the style. I do think Brolan is the key player to highlight, though. Like, he was always the X factor in this lineup, because listen, the others are all known quantities. Like, except for Golden, maybe we kind of know who all the other guys are, their careers. Obviously, Bro young, like you say, it's not fair to expect him to be a superstar player. And actually, this was the event. Good amount, occasional event.
Yeah.
But when you consider, like I said, 21 maps and got these numbers, fucking big time stuff. And the key thing for me is, don't put the ZywOo simple type pressure on a guy like this shoulders. That most normal players aren't going to be like that. But what's cool for me is, you look at Brolan, you look at Sergey and ENCE, you look at Frozen and Mouse. Mate, in a couple of years, we are going to have an amazing set of star players come through our scene. Like, you can actually see the next one starting to come. It's just the difference is, some of these are the normal players. Like, they're just going to take a couple of years to get to the top, and then they'll be the next, whatever, Elige or something like that. There'll be a very, very good player like we have. Breezy's, the ones that don't initially immediately catch your eye and they're going to make it. Like, so I think Brolan is a very positive, and he can continue. This is going to be what I think about this team. For me, I just like to watch them play. They make fucking entertaining matches. That's the thing. So whether I think they can be the best, no, but I definitely want to watch them play. Like, I'd love to see this squad go against fucking Team Liquid or someone, or EG again. Like, these are good matches, actually. They're just a fun team to watch. The other players a bit up and down, though. Like, I think, here's my prediction. Expect it to be this way. One tournament, JW will have nice stats. The next tournament will be flush. And while the other one of a bad tournament, they're just not going to be like superstar players, but they're certainly in current form good enough to play at this level.
Yeah, well, this is the thing everyone's talking about, right? And this is why people, like a lot of Fnatic fans, got mega upset, because it was very apparent in the final, and that is that the CT side for Fnatic is a real struggle for them to put up numbers. Like, even when they get a lead, if they start on the T side and they get a good lead on the T side, they can't close out the game. I mean, if you go look, I think overall it's something ridiculous. Like, I think in the final, it's something insane. Like, they took Like, I don't know, like I almost want to say, was it like 4 or 2 fucking CT rounds or something? It was like ridiculous how few they actually managed to convert. They get everything done on the T side, which is interesting because that's, I was like, yeah, there you go, it was 2, according to the chat. So it's like, it's almost like an inverse of how the, you know, famous Fnatic from 2015 used to play, because they get it all done on CT. They just shut you the fuck out. You know, the door was fucking closed. Like, you had to run onto a bomb site and you're like, it's okay, it's just Crims. Get fucked. 3 of you are dead. I'm dancing around the fucking smoke. My boy's coming behind you. And that's just how it is. Like, you have to be so good to beat them. Now, here's the thing. I think fixing the CT side infinitely easier than fixing the T side. So I've got no doubt that that's gonna come, and if that does come, we're talking about a fucking easily comfortable top 4 team in the world here if Fnatic keep this form up. So that's gonna be interesting, like to have another team out there on the mix. But like, if you're getting so much done on the fucking T side anyway, if you're making games competitive while having these bad CT sides, like, holy shit, man, that's great news. And it points to what Golden does as an in-game leader. He's giving you that playbook. He's giving you those setups. He's giving you those executes. And you're going out there and you're listening, you're doing your thing, and you're hitting your shots, and you're making it difficult for people. So I think as well, though, probably worth factoring in those stats. And this is one thing people weren't talking about on Reddit. It's definitely worth factoring in right now that the Krieg is a factor in people getting more done on the T sides in general. I think if we went and had a look at top teams, there's probably a big skew right now in the meta towards T-sided numbers, because obviously the Krieg is fucking out of control. So have to wait and see if that changes, and whether that's like going to be like one of them Ents things, like when they were fucking bodying people with the Org meta and now they're nowhere. So have to wait and see how it goes down. But I just think overall, like, fuck me, like, what more could you have hoped for Fnatic? Like, we all sat here and laughed about it. Flusher back, Golden back, like, fucking hell. They're out of ideas. They're out of shit. And since then, they've won a tournament and got to a final. So, you know, I think everyone should be really, really happy. And I think they'll nail that CT side down eventually. Now, of course, we get to talk about EG. They went out and had that difficult tournament at Malmo. You know, they barely had any days to prepare for that. They had to like literally get on a plane coming out of the final of the IEM that they won. They go straight out there. They get bodied. They get a little bit of time. And this was interesting because the Evil Geniuses team, man, again, they're another great team to watch. You can always sense that they're just on the precipice of maybe a collapse. Like, they're super interesting. They're like a classic NA team. Like, again, they got beat by NiP. They struggled against Heroic, but then they kind of found their stride, comfortable, you know, against Furia. They beat NiP in the replay. They get past Renegades. Then they beat Fnatic to get to the upper bracket final, so they get that rest, they get a relax, and then they beat them 2-0 in the rematch in the final with very, you know, relatively comfortable score lines. Now, everything for me was going right for EG in terms of what you want to see out of this team. I love watching Cirque. I think he's not maybe as solid as he was like a little while ago, but when he's on, he's on. And the shots he's hitting right now, like Cirque's an elite level AWPer, one of the best AWPers in the world. I think you could make an argument for it. Taric is clearly fulfilling a role in this team. He's not going to be posting big numbers, but if you go look at how many clutches Taric had and like impact rounds, that's going to be super high. He's kind of like evolving into almost like an NA Zipnix, you know, not as consistent, not as brilliant. But if Taric's the last man alive, and I always think there's a chance they're going to win the round still. I think he's got a very kind of, you know, cerebral way of thinking about the game, which is hilarious considering they all call him Peanut Brain. But what was very interesting here, I mean, first of all, you don't need to say anything about Breezy. Like, if he'd been playing like this for another 3 months previous, he's up there in the conversation, I think, with like, you know, a Ziwu and a Simple.
It'd be for player of the year.
Yeah, it's for undoubtedly for player of the year. Unfortunately, his godlike
a bit too
form,
late for that,
yeah, he just came on a bit too late, right? But Ethan, he's been kind of the sleeper in this team, and he was unreal levels of consistent at this tournament. Never spectacular, but just what you want out of one of your rifle players. You know, just consistently putting numbers up, series after series after series. I think he had 2 negative at the entire tournament. Again, like you say, across whatever the fuck it was, like 21 maps, 20 maps, something like that, 19 maps maybe, which is just insane. Like that level of consistency. So while everybody thought maybe Evil Geniuses was a flash in the pan, Evil Geniuses rocking up and winning this tournament, and the nature in which they won it, I think that should give everyone pause for thought about like how quick people were to like dogpile on them. And crucially, the Liquid plummet down the rankings continues. And with this win, Evil Geniuses hit #1 team in the world. Now, whether they stay there or not, who fucking knows? But now this is what we were talking
just the
about.
Accomplishment is sick. Though.
Yeah, listen, it's not even just that. I mean, not only have they done it in an unbelievably short time, from inception to whatever, and sure, a lot of things have to go right and other teams have to drop off. But now we've had 2 NA teams as the #1 team in the world in like this short period of time, which is, which is what we were talking about, how it's a great time for NACS. Like NACS is some of the best CS we got right now in the world. So super happy for EG, and I think their team's fucking sick. And I think Malmo was an aberration that for me was easily explainable away. I don't know why fans got ahead of themselves. EG are going to be serious contenders moving forward into 2020. Every tournament they're at, 100%.
Yeah, if you look at this team, like as it stands right now, I would pick this team to win more of the titles, certainly. Maybe even more this year. Like this really does look like a team where I don't ever know, like you said, they've got #1 in the rankings. I don't ever know if they'll be a true #1. I feel like personally they might be more like a 2 or a 3. They feel more around that because, they're still very young. They're quite inexperienced overall as a squad compared to the Team Liquids and Astralis of the world that have done everything in the last few years. So they've still got a bit of development to go, but the initial signs are amazing. I will say this, though. One reason why you should expect them to have games that look weird and that they lose is because their 2 best maps at the moment are Dust 2 and Inferno, right? It's first of all, that's amazing. That's why them getting #1 is amazing to me, because those are 2 maps that are really hard to be the best on because everyone plays them. But the fact that everyone plays them also means you're going to, like, what are the odds you're going to win every Dust 2 and Inferno you play in a tournament? It's not very high. Like, you're going to have a match where you need, like, for example, I saw them in this tournament, like, pick Inferno and then lose it. I think they did that against Nip, in fact. So,
yeah,
like, one of the problems they're going to have is like their home maps are ones that are real tough to win all the time on. But if you do, then you become one of the best teams of all time. So I'm very excited for the potential with this team. As you said, probably the most exciting, like, I guess it wasn't undervalued because he got MVP on HLTV. I saw was Ethan, because the stuff they were doing at the past tournaments was pretty much without Ethan. Like, they did all that great stuff, top 4 at the major when he was still in New York, and it would always be like they got so much from everyone else. He kind of just didn't have to do much. He just chilled, and sometimes even had bad stats. The idea tournament here, the maps, like you say, and has numbers. Well, if he can have real tournaments that he's online like that, they become even more potent. So I think this is another squad like Team Liquid where all 5 players in theory could be very good players, very strong map pool. And the difference is they don't have any of the insecurity issues that are riddling Team Liquid right now. They seem in amazing place mentally. Like, everyone believes in Stanislaw. The coach even seems totally like, they don't seem like they were rattled by the Malmo result. This is actually a very, very positive thing, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think about the slump that Team Liquid had gone into off the back of like the major, and then you look at how like EG got fucking, last place at Malmo, fucking ridiculed, castigated, flash in the pan, all of this shit, bounce back, win the next tournament. Like, and this is why when I said about Stanislaw getting what he wanted, this is what he wanted. Like, he wanted to have like the blank slate young players that didn't have the preconceptions, that basically Daps had laid all the foundational work for him, and now Stan was going to give him the rest and sort of take him to the next level. And just personality types on this team, all of these guys, even like Breezy, even though he's killing it right now, super humble, super quiet, just does his business. Ethan, same dude, like never going crazy. You got Cirque, exactly the same personality type. That core for Stan is the dream, way more than it was at Team Liquid. It was always going to work out. You're not going to get Elige to... If you've got 10 ideas, Elige is probably going to object to 7 or 8 of them. That's just that. You're dealing with that. That's star player mentality. These guys are star players without star player mentality. I hope they never get it, because that purity is definitely a big factor in why they're listening to in-game leaders. Like, they got star player skills, but they ain't got star player egos. That's the fucking dream. That's the dream for any in-game leader that wants to like micromanage and mold people like that. But here's the other thing people ain't talking about, and that is that what Tarek and Stan are doing, like when they're getting up between rounds, it's like some old school CS shit that you see where they're like shouting at their opponents, right? Like screaming every game, like calling people out by name. You don't even know if they can hear it. Like technically they shouldn't be able to, but they're doing it. They're getting everyone pumped. Like Tarek's like the ultimate fucking hype man in CS right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's like the Flavor Counter-Strike. He's there, yeah, boy, just dropping it every game, like mocking people, getting inside their heads, pumping everybody up. I think this team's got a sick mentality to go with fucking sick skills. And as I said, I think what a wonderful rivalry you're going to see in NA between Team Liquid and these guys in 2020 when we start getting the big tournaments rolling around again. And honestly, I just think where they're at right now, give the edge to EG most times. Probably say 7 out of 10 again. I think that's where they're at.
Liquid
have got to fix their mindset.
Literally, if someone put a gun to your head at this moment and said, "I'm going to hold a tournament tomorrow, the top 10 teams go, who wins it?" I wouldn't say you're wrong if you pick EG. That wouldn't be a bad pick at all. Astralis has only won the major. That's it. Team Liquid looks terrible. The other teams are all uncertain. I know it's only kind of like a default number one in a way in that sense, but right now EG is in theory the team you'd pick. They've got all the pieces to do it. They've got what's crazy about them is there's literally no team right now they match up. Excited to see them up this next period. That I don't even mind it. Like have the lols if they lose a DOS 2 here and there, and they lose a series. Like it's the fact that like mentally they don't seem to have been like spun out of shape by either the high of winning the tournament or the low of bombing the Malmo. Like that's the really encouraging thing, because if you notice with the NA teams, mentality is a big issue. Like you can see totally night and day the difference between the Team Liquid mentality last year and the Team Liquid mentality when they win everything this year. Like that's a big difference. And so I also think that's probably an area that NA as a region had to evolve to get to the point where they could have 2 number 1 teams. Is you yourself have to stop thinking of yourself as like the second class citizen who's always going to be behind the best European, and that the best for you is to get the upset win and maybe come like third. Once you get to the world where it's like, actually, it's like I kept saying about Team Liquid in the summer. The crazy thing there was they were beating the absolute best teams, and they were a favorite when they did it. Like, it's like that world of where we're the underdog is gone. Like, you should start thinking of yourself as the best team in the world. So I think EG, like that, I know we just talked about some very interesting teams already. Fnatic's obviously a great one to watch, but EG is one that I'm really excited for, like the historical potential. Like they could win many more events. They could be a team where by the next major rolls around, maybe they can win the mixed major. That would be amazing.
So let's get on to roster news now with StarLadder wrapped up, because there's been some interesting shit popping off. Let's talk about Complexity. So it's finally over, guys. All your Complexity fans.
Did you see that tweet that Jason Lake did, by the way?
Which one?
He did a tweet where in his office he's put like a picture of the Juggernaut from that like X-Men movie.
From X-Men 3?
So he said he was going to build a Juggernaut, didn't he? So he's purposely put one up behind him and a picture of him like smiling, looking at it, which is banter, which is what Moses actually said on Twitter. That's how I saw it. He just said, "This is banter." That's legit.
No, but this is why I love Jason Lee.
I like
people,
that.
No, people don't realize. Like, and listen, I like it's like he said when me and him talked about it when we were doing the No Majors Club, and he dropped by and we were doing that interview there. Like, I understand that there's people out there that knew Jason Lake back in like early 2000s, 2005, 2006, whatever the fuck, and like Jason was a different person back then. Who he was now.
That was
right, yeah, and it was a different world, and he probably did some shit that like, you know what I mean? It's fucking. If I'd have been active as a journalist and caught it, I'd have been fucking calling him out for that.
He had his missteps. There's a lot of people did worse, I'll tell you that.
But exactly, but one of the things that Jason Lake is, he always talks about like self-improvement and get better and work towards something. Like, he does live what he talks, man. Like, you've got to understand that. This is a guy who sorted out his personal shit, who bounced back from like the oblivion of esports bankruptcy, and has now like managed to make his brand his baby, which he reclaimed back from the CGS that stole it out from under him.
Even when he had his bad days, like you're describing in the original Complexity, I always say this to the players who were involved with that. I was like, listen, the thing you're describing, like if he was rude to you, or I know Frod told some story where apparently he like slapped a player or something. Listen, that is totally unacceptable. Yes.
Of course,
but
absolutely.
Also, never forget that he was not in the same position anyone else in esports was in. So, for example, the rival team to Complexity was Team 3D. Now, the owner of Team 3D, Torble, He didn't invest any of his fucking money in Team 3D. That wasn't his money that he was burning away. That was a sponsor's money that he got through the normal method, kind of like a modern day team now, and he just ran the team. Jason Lake had invested his life savings and all the money he made from a fucking law practice. Imagine going and being a lawyer, one of the most boring jobs in the world, getting all that money, giving it to a team of Counter-Strike players to go. By the way, they're even considered professionals. So all the fans are thinking this money must come from corporate aspects. And, they win the money. You give them the money. You pay them the salary. And then, listen, yes, you're out of pocket. But there's a reason why you'd be more invested emotionally than the other owners. And there's a reason. And so even though certainly the outcome, some of these behaviors are unacceptable, I actually think the intention was a very positive one, which is this is a guy who really did invest his life into esports. Not in like a way where he's like giving it up. Like he wanted the team to grow and he wanted to have a really great team and he wanted to make a great franchise. So you can see again how he's trying to sort of like come back around now and fulfill that dream now, years and years later. Hopefully he's a different person.
And
so
listen,
I even respect
but
like
most
that
people would have fucked off anyway.
The buy-in initially was amazing though. Whether you think his behavior was fucked up or not, the buy-in is like if you made a movie about an owner, he'd be the one you'd make it about. Put it that way, like he'd be top of the list.
Dude, when we finally get around to doing like the 30 for 30 style documentaries, like Jason Lake's life is prime fucking material, mate.
It would be a brilliant story.
Oh, I'd love to have a crack at it. I'd love to do the good, the fucking bad. I've got all the interview material. I've known him fucking many, many years. Like I say, he's the reason why when I first came into esports and was trying to find what I was going to be good at and what my identity was, you watch that fucking documentary of a guy in a shirt and a tie stood behind an esports team, shouting at them, coaching them, telling them to win, treating it like sideline sports coach. You're like, fuck, man, like, if this is a grown-ass man, this is a fucking lawyer doing that shit. So no shame if I go and do it. So I did. I even ran my own org, like Jason Lake was an inspirational figure, and like all inspirational figures, like, yeah, he probably got some skeletons, but he's owned his shit every step of the way. So when you see him like on Twitter, like bantering back and forth like this, he always owns it. Yeah, he even said himself, maybe the timing was off. I kind of feel a bit bad about it. But instead of like trying to run away from the mockery of like the juggernaut and everyone calling him out, first of all, he is committed to building a good team. Right. And second of all that shit you're going to throw at him, he's going to use it for content and use it to win fans over. And I'm telling you, in 2020, like next year, you watch, man, complexity flares on the Reddit are going to go up. Complexity flares in general, like that, he's going to turn this team around. They're going to start
If he's
winning.
actually committed for real to that concept that he's going to build, I'd predict he'd do it. I'd say in a couple of years he'll have done it. In 2021, he'll have a team in the top 10. There you go. Top 5, maybe. There you go.
Yeah.
Top 5, I guess, have to be. Yeah, I'll say it. There we go.
I think they can get up there. And I think when you talk about great owners, we talk about Ocelot a lot. Serious, like watch what Jason Lake does for this brand next year and judge him on that. And I think there's going to be a lot of proud Complexity fans. I think he's already got there with some of the signings he's made. Now, what he has done famously as well is he's always stuck by his players for as long as it was possible. And there's been
fault.
To a fault. And there's been no bigger beneficiary of that attitude than Def. Right? Like straight up, he's been in Complexity for what, like 3.5 years? It's fucking mental how long he's been in that team. And we finally got the news that Def is going to be out. He's going to be back in the pool. I don't know what happens next for Def, but he's
if you
100%...
remember, Def joined Complexity off the top of my head when we were doing E-League Season 1, I think.
Yeah.
That's how long ago that was.
Yeah. Like... And he's been in every iteration of the team. They even let him have a go at in-game leadership. Like, you can't fucking say he didn't have a chance. And there was a period, honestly, that people forget. Back, I think it was when Android was in the team. Def and Android actually did have some good spells. Like, I know people have been saying, "Oh, Def's been awful," like ever since he came in the team. Like, that's some historical revisionism I'm never going to sign up to. There was a period when him and Android were like popping off, and like, sure, that might have been one of the weakest iterations of Complexity, but he definitely was in good form back then. I just don't really understand what it is he does better than anybody else. Like that's the only thing, and I don't understand where he's going to end up.
Because mixed in what you're saying is the sense that I got is for some reason Jason Lake just really like fucked with his mentality or liked him as a person, felt like he was a good competitor. And so that's what this looks like to me. It's like Jason Lake himself must know Def wasn't a good player, but he's given him as many chances as he could to develop into one. And he's thought maybe it's a different, maybe he needs to be a different role, maybe he needs a different teammate. So fair play, you give him the there's no way Def could turn around after this and complain. He got the absolute most fair chance possible. I'd say he was given like they actually went above and beyond what they were required to do, quite frankly. Give him many chances.
Yeah,
it just
totally.
wasn't that good in the end.
And that's why any criticism about him, like fucking over his players and stuff, is like outrageous. Because the counter argument is just one word: Dev. That's it. That's all you say. Yeah, well, you shouldn't do that because these players, they're already fit. Dev. He's been there for 3.5 years, mate. He's been there. He's been getting a check for 3.5 years. Been mediocre for most of that. That's legit. That's a team owner that definitely believes in you. So fuck that noise. And the other thing is as well, like Shazam has been benched, but he's still keeping him around. And I think that's pretty much by virtue of him being an AWPer. Again, like I was talking, I think they're in short supply. So you definitely keep that around. But Def's 100% out. Then we get the announcement that they're trying to do a last-minute gazump where they're going to try and get Poison, the Bulgarian AWPer, out from under OG. That we're going to buy him after Yampy having an old VAC band account turned up. So OG didn't want to have him because then he wouldn't be, if it's true and it's his account, he wouldn't be able to play at the majors. So this is what I'm talking about as well with Complexity. They're watching all of these roster moves, by the way. They're watching who's hyped.
The
who's
timing
go
to jump in on that move's pretty clever as well, like you say, because the OG thing hasn't sorted their squad yet. So now's the perfect time to give that guy an offer that still looks sick to him when the other one seems uncertain. It's also pretty gangster, by the way, to show the LXCB guy, like, you wouldn't join my team, I'll sit the player you were going to get to your squad then.
Exactly.
He's in my team now.
Yeah, like straight up. So it looks like that move's going to go ahead. Now, just to analyze that move in and of itself, I think Poison, there's still question marks for me, right, about whether or not he's going to be elite level. He's looked really, really good when he was playing in Wendigo, like no doubt. But again, you think about caliber of opposition, but then you also think about, because of the team, how often do they play top caliber opposition? But then that feeds into the thought, well, if he ain't playing top opposition regular, how's he going to cope when he is? Plus, not to mention, remember, this is a guy, 20-year-old, young, heading out to North America for the first time, like living abroad for the first time in his life. Big move. But then again, he's in a team with other people doing it. So this is shades of Cirque for me. I think this could be like Cirque Mark II. Another Bulgarian AWPer joining an NA team. Nobody's going to... In fact, if anything, Poison's way more hyped as a player than what Cirque was when he joined NRG. That worked out. I think Poison's got the skills. He's got the talent. I think he's got an in-game leader that knows what he's doing. Plus, there'll be a lot of simpatico there because Poison and Blame F are going through the same thing at the same time for the same team. So I think this is good. And as you said, it's got the added advantage of like just straight suck my nuts, LXCB. Like you wouldn't take that massive fucking contract to come and play for me. You want your AWPer? Unlucky, son. You're going to have to go and pick your third choice now because Yampy let you down and now we got your boy Poison. So I do like that. And I've got no doubt in my mind that a little bit of that is a factor, 100%. I know how Jason thinks. But then, well, no, I'll ask you your opinion, actually, just on the Poison move, and then we'll move to the next bit.
I think it's a good gamble. Like, if you look at who they've got in the squad so far, like, the other rumor, obviously, is that they get... I've heard there's a rumor they're going to get Config was one that might be on the tables, Like, the actual names he's looking at,
that, yeah.
Once you can't really get the names which would have fulfilled the whole Juggernaut thing, like massive on players now. After that, the tier of players he's going for, these are all at least good players with potential. Like these are players who either can be better now or were better in the past. Like there's good reasons for all these ones. I can kind of see why if you're at the level Cole's at, I don't think these gambles are bad, put that way. Obviously, I don't know necessarily the numbers for them all, but from the outside, these look like players worth giving a chance to.
Yeah. So the config move is the one that really fucking excites me, dude. Like, I hope it's legit. I hope it comes off. I know Christian watches this. Like, please, mate, do it. Because you're never going to get like, I don't know what's gone on in Denmark or whatever. I don't know what your reputation's like, but you know those other top Danish teams, like, they're a little bit iffy about touching you now.
You're going to have to do something really special if you ever want to be in Australia, put it that way. You're not going to do it by just sitting back and waiting for them to ask it. It's not going to happen.
And you yourself have admitted that you've got to start respecting the game and getting your hustle back on and prove what a good player you can be. And we all know you're one of the most fucking explosive talents, like, on your day. So this is the team. This is 100% the team to join. Like, no joke.
I love this move, by the way, from the Cole side, because this one, particularly the config one, is a move where you've picked someone who realistically, yes, they have to rehabilitate themselves, but it's all mental. There's nothing to do with physical skill. So if this guy can get there mentally, you go from picking up someone who right now is a potential problem player. He's just an okay player, but it's not even like his skill dropped off because he's just bad. Like, it's pure mental. So if he can kick that back into gear, you'll have a steal because you'll have like a top 10 player in the world. Like, that's how good a player you'll have.
But this is why, like, so think about what complexity have, right? You got fucking nutritionists, you got sports psychologists, you sit and play in a custom built chair that is like designed to fucking align with your fucking spine and arms. Like, the level of detail is outrageous. Like, if you want to get back on the horse and be a number one player again, and you're actually feeling self-analytical and you want to look into why you've dropped off and what it is,
sports psychologists, all that crap, of course.
This is the place to be, mate. Like straight up. And on top of that, as I said, everybody on this team is in the same boat in a lot of ways. Like, you know, with the exception of maybe Obo. Okay, Obo and Poison, not so much. But like Blame F, Rush, Config, you can understand like how these guys are all like, you know, fuck. This is where we got to have our break.
By the way, if you notice, when
back.
you read the names off there, I tell you what, it isn't a juggernaut. Like, it's not a phase clan.
You couldn't call it a juggernaut.
When you look at those 5 names, though, those are way better than the old complexity lineups. That lineup already right there has 10 times the potential of any past complexity lineups. Like, those are good players.
Yeah, but this is the thing.
There.
I think the idea, like, listen, why is it that a juggernaut's got to be like recycle players? Like, how many like young players have we seen come through recently that have come from fucking nowhere? And really like gone on to prominence to be one of those names that we're talking about regularly as being like, what a great move. Like, think about NRG. Like, NRG is now EG. You would call that team a juggernaut. Well, you wouldn't have called it when they got assembled, like whatever it was. You wouldn't call that a fucking juggernaut, but it's pretty much all the same pieces. So when I look at this team, I see Obo, who is a very exciting, like, young talent.
A lot of potential.
A lot of potential there. Remember, he's only 16.
Seems to have a very good mentality as well, I've got to say, for a young guy.
Oh, totally. And like, you've got Blame F, like, man, blown away when I interviewed that kid. Like, 22, but he's got like a 32-year-old fucking head on his shoulders. Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
not in an MSL way.
Yeah, not in an MSL way, not in a hairline way. Not I don't mean he's molding. I mean, like, the guy is discipline and intelligence personified. Like, he's got a routine. He gets up. He never skips gym. He fucking sits down. He does his work. He's a really analytical thinker. Great temperament. And has already at 22 been instrumental in helping develop young Danish talent in the scene and understands the role that the IGL plays in that. Then, like, you know, you're talking about throwing Config into that, who Config's had his epiphany off the back of that article you wrote. You got Poison maybe coming in. And listen, I said this before, like, Rush is going to come out. He ain't done it yet. It's happening. He's going to come out and be back to where he was. Because at 25, he's definitely not washed up, not in CS, and he's had a tough time. But, man, playing over in that Cloud9 revolving door team, that's going to kill any fucking drive you have. Like, different player every fucking week. Sure. From Europe, from this, from that, people taking paychecks, you know, young players coming in, being garbage, like, having terrible attitudes. Like, you know, Rush knows, like the importance of him getting back to where he is, and I'm pretty sure he's got the drive to do it. He's another guy who always struck me as a good player. So yeah, listen, it ain't a juggernaut, but I think it ain't a juggernaut because this is how we think about juggernauts. This could be NRG Mark II. I think if I was to put an analogy down for what I expect this team to do, what I want it to do, I think it's NRG Mark II. I legit think that this team will surprise a lot of people next year. Once it hits the ground.
I think there's a lot of pieces here that could do a lot. A lot more than people might imagine. Like, especially as Blame F's already obviously had his like mini success in heroic, bearing in mind they were supposed to be nobodies. Like I actually look at this team. Not even everyone has to develop, and he's still going to have firepower. He's still going to have potentially good players. And if it all goes to plan, it will be a very good team. Like you say, it could be right up the ranks. For anyone who wonders, by the way, that whole aspect that, like, obviously, if I hadn't have, who knows if that even happens, right? Because does he get to say publicly that he wants to change, and therefore everyone gets the hype about config again? Probably not. One thing I would say is this: this is an area where in the past, when I've talked about when I've had offers to coach from teams, and every idiot fan just goes and just poo-poos it, like, what would you know as a coach?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Stuff that guys like you and people who only know the game could never know. How to actually coach men, how to be a leader of men, how to actually like bring the best out of someone or challenge someone when they're on their bullshit and no one else can do it because everyone's kissing their ass. Like if you think about the article I did for Config, the one I did about Stewie 2K, where I challenged him, like, are you going to be a star player or are you going to be a supportive player? Like, you got to pick, mate. You got to know who you're going to be. Well, the article I did a few years back about Simple, where I told him you literally have to turn the mentality that makes you the best at the game to try and become the best teammate, because then you will alleviate all this pressure. Like, the point here is, right, I actually shouldn't be the one playing this role. If these has developed as traditional sports, you have like a guy in the locker room who would have done basically. He'd be like a 30-year-old guy who's this is the concept would be you could still play at that age, obviously. And in traditional sports, what happened is he'd have taken these young guys outside years ago and told one of them, you know, get your head together, or I was like you before and I had problems with my teammates. Here's what I did. Like, it just shows how that's one thing we really do lack in this scene. Like, we need like leadership figures. Because I'm doing that role for the players I care about, because I don't want people's careers. But like, I'm not going to do it for everyone. I'm obviously not like the most optimistic guy in the world. So it just kind of shows something I think we lack in our scene, which is that kind of like a personality that can hold people accountable. I hope more of the coaches take note of that sort of thing, because you can have a big effect on your team, but it's the right word at the right time. That's the key thing.
Yeah, and as we've seen, like over at Cloud9, you know, like it really is something that's lacking. You know, it's crazy.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think a lot going on with Complexity. Watch this space
situation over at Cloud.
Yeah, I saw what you did there.
That guy was garbage anyway. Whatever.
I might even timestamp it to preserve your dignity, son.
All right.
But anyway, so it's now official. DK got the scoop a few hours, but I think this had already been touted. I heard it like a week ago. I couldn't believe it, but I knew it was probably true. And that is that 100 Thieves have finally made their big entrance into the scene, and they did it by buying up the Renegades roster. And it's like, listen, on results and current form, what you're going to get right now is you are going to get a team that in the landscape we've got, which, by the way, is changing, but in the landscape we've got right now, today, this is a team that, they can get semis, they can get quarters, they can get upsets.
Certainly not a bad squad at all, no.
Yeah, but like when you think about...
It's not a major winner, though. It's 100 Thieves, for fuck's sake, isn't it? Like, when your name is 100 Thieves and you've got the money they have, you're supposed to get a team that could be amazing.
Yeah, but like, from what I heard behind the scenes, I don't know what it was. Like, if they passed on paying the 3 mil for EG, or if they just missed out.
I'd heard as well, by the way, that like that exactly what you're saying, that like EG 100 Thieves and some other teams, these are the two squads that everyone was bidding for. It was NRG and it was Renegades, and Renegades was mainly because of the major, as far as I can tell. Like, these are the squads everyone was going hard for. So you're right, it does make it sound like if you're 100 Thieves, what you did is this, right? We didn't get EG, NBK's taking his fucking team elsewhere. Who else is left? Renegades? Yeah, why not? It's like, there's no way this is your first choice. There's no way.
No, it doesn't feel like it could be. But here's the other thing. It's like, I kind of feel this is really antithetical to what 100 Thieves are about.
Oh, the branding makes no sense at all, mate.
Yeah, so, I mean, forget Australian markets. Forget that. I ain't even talking about regional markets. I'm just talking about the only one I would say that has a real big personality on that team that I know is a likable guy and is funny, and you could put a camera in front of him and he would always like find material and pull shit out, is Azza, right? He's a funny motherfucker, smart dude, lots of fun, right? Rest of the guys I don't know too much about. Australians in general have a fucking good sense of humor. I mean, the only person that disproves that rule is that fucking mug Dick Stacey. But like the reality is, like, in terms of this team being like a fucking big brand content driver, I just don't see it. I don't see how you're gonna fucking take. I don't think how you're gonna take like this team and turn them into what 100 Thieves are about. Like you got Courage doing fucking music videos, like and shit, and then what are these guys gonna do?
This is
like,
why it does suck that EG, because listen, EG has a lot of quiet people. Tarek and crickets and his style that all has like brand value. Like people know what he's about. Like you could have marketed them a lot better. I agree, and also they're also from NA anyway. So like I agree. Like the problem is this: results wise, not a terrible pickup to get this Renegade squad at all. They're a good squad, but I agree. Like I don't really see bearing, because here's the problem. I think is like this is what fans might misunderstand. A lot of European orgs, their business model isn't lifestyle gaming and build up the merchandising and stuff. It is at the moment like maintain your place in the scene, win as many tournaments as you can, build your online fan base or whatever. But all these orgs that come from COD understand that lifestyle elements is where the money is. If you can be like Optic and FaZe and all this and were a few years back, you just rake in money from the streaming and the ads and stuff. Like the competitive for you then is almost like a side thing you do for fun. Like that's the thing. 100 Thieves isn't here just to like place top 40 major, mate. They're here for more than that in theory.
Yeah,
they
well,
think they are.
No, this is why I just don't understand it. Like I don't get, like, okay, so when they first came into the scene, because people forget this, and it's like almost a genius marketing move in and of itself, that Nadeshot has managed to somehow like hit you with the Men in Black stick. So like you don't remember they've already been in CS and it was a fucking disaster. Like it's like you all forget about that Brazilian team that they had just before the major, the bullshit from which set off a chain reaction that we're only just like recovering from now in fucking at the end of 2019. That was a fucking nightmare right there. So like, but that team at that time, had they not been a bunch of fucking idiots, that team would have been way better for them in terms of like pedigree, results, like whatever. And now
they would even have loved the whole bad boy element. They would have loved that shit.
Yeah, it would have been perfect.
Brand, like blend the NGs and all that. FNX obviously is a bad boy, and it was the Villa mix. But that's the thing: 100 Thieves on NA org like that, especially an spot to do that though. They're already about that bro cult. It's just Brazilian bros.
Yeah, exactly, man. It was like it was so crazy to me. Like when I saw this like today, when I was getting ready for the show, I was like, nah, come on, man. But listen, Nadeshot does. There's one thing you got to say about Nadeshot. Like he's always got a plan. Sure. He does know what he's doing. So I'll give him that. I'll definitely give him that. So
here's one angle for you, Rich. I've got an angle for you here.
Okay.
So here's the interesting angle that I am excited for.
Yeah.
Like, one of the downsides in the past is when you're Renegades, like, first of all, they used to literally obviously have to play in that Asia Minor. Too much of the connection to Australia, and they were a small team. They weren't in the biggest org. So that's why they had to work with NAF when he was available. No one wanted him. They got Jacob because no one wanted him. The thing for me is this. I don't think Nadeshot buys a team like this and thinks, I'm just going to let them figure it all. Actually, with the money he's got behind him, he makes a move to tell them, why don't we just get a fucking superstar player? We all speak anyway. Like, backing to where Renegades could, like, get, like, fucking superpowered and become a team. If they get a really good player and add him to the mix, now you've got a squad that can win. So I expect Nadeshot's idea will be, this isn't the squad. Like, we're going to put our money into the squad as Olympians, I would think. Sure, that's why you want to end the game.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see what parts you can add to this lineup. That's the problem, right? Like when you look at like a European lineup, it was like I said when Complexity got Blame F, right? You're opening up, Danish talent pool, European, potential. Like with the Aussies, like assuming like cultural stuff's a thing. Like you'll notice that when these guys were rocking it in NA, they were always looking to pick up more Aussies. They weren't thinking like, oh, let's start putting NA players into the mix. They did it like once or twice, like you say, when there's an opportunity to get a player like NAF or whatever the fuck, and you go out and you do it. But like in general, like that's the way they're thinking about the talent pool is they're looking at like, unknown potential players in Australia. And it's like, well, there's a ton of problems that comes with that. I mean, first of all, overall skill ceiling, seeing like a guy who looks good banging off Aussie heads on a fucking weekend, he might not be able to hang at a level like this. I mean, it's arguable if some of these guys were going to be able to do it, but they've proven that they have. But then on top of that as well, you get all the immigration shit again. Like Nadeshot's going to be having fucking mad PTSD next time some cunt comes up and can't get a fucking visa. So what's going to happen there? So I just don't get it. Like the region seems weird. Like I get the teams doing well right now, and out of the teams that might have been available for a move, this is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, it's not a bad pickup team wise at all.
Yeah, just in terms of pure placings, but all the other stuff, it don't make no sense. And here's what's going to happen now. You're going to have fucking Fnatic on the come up, right? Already on the come up. You got EG dominating. You got Astralis dominating. You got Liquid dominating. Vitality can't stay bad, right? So where we at now? Okay, well, Furia just had a bounce back. You think Na'Vi are going to stick with Guardian fragging bad? Like, there's a real potential that Renegades, who are like number 7 in the world right now, ain't even in the top 10 by the time we hit February.
It's pretty plausible, to be fair.
And then what did you spend your money on? That's leaving out G2. That's leaving out if Ents are going to.
You need a lot of people to miss, basically, just to maintain your status. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's.
You're not going to get that much better. Let's be real. They're not going to get twice as good.
Yeah,
like, they've shown us their level, which is good. But like you say, it's good in the current climate. Is it good 3 months from now? Probably not.
Yeah,
probably
that's the thing. It is beyond a short-sighted move, and I think it's because for whatever reason, like budget-wise, or I don't know what it will be, but they felt they had to get a team wrapped up by the end of 2019 because they've been teasing their entrance in for months now, and we all know the negotiations have been going on. But again, you look over at OG, like shit, man, picking up like a fucking MBK and Alexi B and that stuff, that would have made more sense. I'm pretty sure as well that team that's getting put together must have already had talks with 100 Thieves and decided to go with OG instead.
I'd heard something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, so fuck, man, that's like, I think they missed out, man. I think they missed out on too much, and now they're settling on Renegades. I think if you're making your big announcement about a CSGO team, and it's an ordinary team, and people know that you've missed out on other shit, like, I don't know, man. It ain't the 100 Thieves way. Like, they're about big bombastic shit. So I got some concerns, but whatever. We'll wait and see what the plan is. Like, I know Nadeshot must have one. I just don't know what the fuck it is. Final story, and then we'll do viewer questions. I don't know if you saw about what was going on with Windigo. Did you see this?
No.
So basically, Windigo, like the Bulgarian team that we were talking about, right? And this again, we're just gonna get the whole, the joys of chasing Chinese money. You know, they went and they won that tournament at WESG with the $500,000 back in, like, yes. I don't know, whatever. It was at the start of 2019.
Yeah, it was this year,
Yeah. Well, apparently they ain't been paid.
That's weird, because famously, one of the things about that tournament that was the one upside is everyone always said, envious, said we did get the money. Like, at least the money's real, right?
Yeah, but like, listen, I'm gonna just say as well, this might be like Transformers. Like, there might be more than meets the eye to this motherfucker, because, like, historically, I know that tournament does pay out, and I've never heard a player complain about WESG.
Yeah, same.
Just saying.
Than just CS:GO, by the way, guys. Like, they have a Dota tournament every year. So again, like, me and Richard would have heard something, I think, if they were at all dodgy. Because I got to.
Oh, you lagged out for that bit, Dunk, when you come back.
Yeah, just a heads up. Are you there?
He's all the way gone.
Oh, he's in the Shadow Realm, homie.
Oh. I tried to change the server, but I don't really do anything.
That's just going to make it worse, I think, bud. That's just going to start messing with me. No, I'm in the Shadow Realm.
No, you're sound.
I'm back. Oh, he's back. There we go.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. So, yeah, obviously all that point just went in the Shadow Realm, mate. We had no idea what you said.
Give me the good gist of it. I didn't...
Well, no, your point, not mine.
Oh, I didn't say
whatever
anything.
you were saying, we didn't get a word of it.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, great. Well, that's perfect then. He said nothing in the Shadow Realm. So listen, right? Here's why I'm saying that I think there's more than meets the eye to this, right? Because that owner, when you want to talk about fucking crazy mental owners, right? That Windigo owner's right up there, straight fucking mentalist. Like,
what's he done? Okay. Like, I haven't seen anything.
Nah, well, first, right? Back in the day, I don't even remember when the fuck this was. He tried to sell his team like on Reddit or something. Y'all remember this? No. Like, somebody in the chat must be able to dig up this fucking thread or whatever. But like, I'm pretty sure he just like said like, "Oh, I want to just sell my fucking team, mate," and he just posted it on Reddit. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if you really, I don't know if you're really understanding like how this all works. But then he got suspended on Twitter because he sent like a joke death threat to a fucking player.
All right. What did he
Right?
say
And
in
what-
the joke death threat? There was any
Right. So what happened was, do you remember Spellan, the player?
Yes.
Right. So I don't know where he's at. Like now, is he in fucking Epsilon or something? Like this cunt's played for every fucking shady org under the sun. The poor woman.
Apparently, he just left Phoenix, whatever team that is.
Like I don't know how this guy's eating. I don't know how this guy's eating because like there you go. Look, every fucking team he's playing for, like there ain't no money there. So pity this guy because he did play in a legit team one time. But whatever. So he talked about how he'd not been paid 10 months of salary from Windigo and he never got no prize money. That he never got his share, right? So the CEO came out and basically like said, prove it or I'll kill you, right? Which obviously we know is the meme.
Sure.
But like, listen,
Twitter
you
will
fucking
make
mug.
you will
What you
always
doing that on
suspend you
Twitter
that, by the
for?
way.
You think the Twitter fucking algorithm knows prove it or I'll kill you is a fucking
And I can tell you,
CS
by the
meme.
way, consistently, two of the ones that they are 100% suspend is prove it or kill you or kill yourself, KYS. Those two, they just 100% suspend. Doesn't matter what the context is. Could
Yep.
be you and your brother, and it could have the same surname. They're going to suspend you no matter what if it gets reported.
Yeah, it's just like, so his Twitter got suspended, right? But even then, right? Think about just think about it for a second, what he's even saying. Because to prove it or I'll kill you, we all know it's a meme, but it was a real death threat, by the way, at the
Yeah, I
time when
know.
KNG said it. Right? Like, so it's a meme. What we're memeing about is like a player having a fucking mental break, like having a meltdown and threatening to kill somebody. So, like, it's not a great meme for a CEO to say to a player that's been owed cash for 10 months. Like, maybe you're getting his DMs. You obviously know the motherfucker. Maybe you try and hug this out. Maybe you talk about it. So the idea that this is a definite open and shut case, a WESG just not paying out the money. Now, I ain't saying nobody took nothing, but if you're an investigative journalist, you might want to start having a dig in
I'll
this.
also just say this, apropos of nothing, Richard, entirely unrelated to the story, in fact. If anyone's unaware, if I was to get, say, $100,000 or something, a lot of money, like $1 million, if I was to just put that account for even 3 months and then pay it to someone, I'd earn quite a lot of interest on that.
Yeah.
I know this because that was one of the original scams of what the CPM business model was. Was just
Exactly.
to get millions from, make loads off the interest, then give it out to the players, but just late. So in this scenario, the guy doesn't even have to like outright be stealing it. He could even just be delaying it. Maybe even, I mean, another classic thing, Richard, which is something you have to watch out for. Here's the thing, right? The one thing I will say is a pretty good argument in favor of franchised leagues is you don't get stupid orgs who have players that are way too good for them, but the org isn't good enough. Because as a result, in this kind of a scenario, we don't have a track record to this guy. Like, no one trusts him. If this was Complexity who just won this tournament, or this was Cloud9 who won this tournament, no one would be worried that this person might steal the money or whatever, or might have an incentive to do that, because actually the incentive would be very low if you're a big org. What you would make from it wouldn't be worth the hit. So unfortunately, this is also one of the problems with letting tiny orgs get success way above and beyond the level of anything they've ever had before. They might do so much shady that one
And, like,
time.
Yeah,
much
no,
money we're
listen.
talking.
This is how you got to start asking questions, right? I just hit F5 on the HLTV thing because it ain't just WESG. The other claim, because basically what's happened is Windigo said they're closing down operations because they're selling poison. They don't want to keep living on with this with like bit part players. You know, they got Hadji in there and Maybit from Germany or whatever, right? So they're saying now that we ain't, because we're not getting paid our prize money and we're selling our best player, like we're just going to shut the operation. I'm going to go and the owner's saying he's going to make a new thing in Kiev, right? But then HLTV, because they got some ties over in fucking Portugal. One of the other tournaments they claimed they were owning was that, Merca XL Esports tournament or whatever, right? Which I think
call it
is
like
the
Mochi or something like Mochi
yeah, or
XL.
Mochi
The
or
one that
whatever.
basically
That's
a
the
few years
Portuguese
back.
one, right?
It's the one where famously when MIBR was shit, they went there, won that just so they could raise that trophy over and over again. Like, look, we're winning a trophy. Like, yeah, basically. It's the one that like fucking Gamers Legion with Existence came second in this year.
Yeah, I remember it, right? So here's what they said, right? Check out this statement from them. right? The tournament organizers themselves. They said the prize money was transferred to Windigo on September 23rd, right? And then it got returned for unknown reasons. They didn't know why. So then, and they said they were the only team that had this banking issue. And then they got in touch with them, and the money has been transferred to a different bank account. Listen.
This is shit.
You know what I mean?
Already, isn't it?
Yeah, come on, mate. Come on. How hard is it to give you fucking bank details?
Also,
So-
what's the timing of this? Right, small esports team, never done anything, wins enormous prize. I think I'm going to shut the org down, actually, guys. Anyway, see ya. It's like, this is the fucking scam in the fucking...
That's what I mean, mate. Like, if it ain't a scam, it's the most fucking
hasn't made it
scam-looking
look good,
non-scam in the history of
Terrible,
scams.
aren't they? I know.
Yeah.
You're-
But like, I'm just saying, like, I got no clue one way or the other, so I'm not making a definitive statement. But like, when TO's already coming back and giving a statement saying like we paid out the money, I know WESG's history; they pay out their money. Like, not one person. And in fact, I think I remember JW or someone like coming out when after Fnatic won it and saying they got the money almost quicker than any other tournament in the space. So they got history of paying out, right? And listen, China can just turn around and fucking do whatever the fuck they want, tell you to go fuck yourself, and what you're gonna do? You're gonna hire a lawyer? It's China, dog. So I wouldn't even put it past it. Like, forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown. I wouldn't even put it past WASG to just be like on a fucking go fuck yourself thing. But equally, it's weird how the only one complaining is an org where this fucking mad, demented, shady owner who's trying to sell his team on Reddit 1 minute and then, oh, we're winning tournaments now, oh, bloody hell. Like, players who played in the team already coming out saying they didn't get salary for like months at a time, and him going out and saying, prove it or I'll kill you. Like, this guy don't know what he's doing. He's just some basket case, bedroom organizer. So you win $500,000 at a tournament, he's probably, you know, is he going to see money like that any other point in his life? Probably not, mate. So that's something to consider. But I'll wager there's something fishy going on. That's if I was a betting man. So just saying. So watch that space. But anyway, Windigo shutting down is the long and the short. Right, we got our viewer questions now. Butt Pounder 420. These, by the way, if you're on the Patreon, you chip in $50 or more, you get to ask a question at the end of every episode. Just letting you know if you're new. Right, Butt Pounder 420 says, which has been the greater affront to humanity? This is an outrageous question, man. What has been the greater affront to humanity? Cold Zero since joining FaZe, or Dust Moret's professional casting career? Come on, bruv. Like, don't be like that. That's straight outrageous, mate. It's undoubtedly Cold Zero since joining FaZe for me. I said it.
He's barely been in the team. Dust has like years of his casting career.
See if you're gonna drop that. Right.
As fuck for no reason.
I know it there. You leave my fucking Dust alone, right? You leave him alone. So anyway, right? FaZe aren't even in the top 20 in the world right now. Okay. Tricked, Greyhound, Crazy. They're all above him. So when you consider that Cold Zero was meant to be
one
the
of
guy
the biggest buyouts in the history of esports as well.
Like when you consider the money they spent to bring Cold Zero in, how he was meant to be fixing everything. Like, this is the, you know what I mean? This is the guy that was like legit meant to be fixing everything. Go look at their results that they're getting online. Fuck me, it's an outrage, mate. Like, okay, let me tell you what went down. I'll just give you like, I don't know, some of the highlights.
I haven't heard this, and they're getting banged out online,
mate. So ESL Pro League, they lost to Mouse Sports 2-0. Like, Carrigan still he's living in Nico's head rent free. That's real rent free shit. That's right there. Like, well, yeah. He just knows how to get the measure him every time. Anytime Mouse Sports play FaZe, like if you're betting on FaZe, like I don't care where they are in the world rankings, like that's a matchup. Like I'll give it Mouse Sports 8 times out of 10. Whatever the fuck. Obviously they lose to Astralis. They lost to Big in ECS.
Big
they lost to
now as well.
Yeah, right. They lost to Virtus Pro.
Jesus Christ.
Right? Also,
who's even on that team anymore? Does anyone even know 3 of the 5?
Mate, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know.
Exactly. Enough said.
They're straight picking up fucking like any. Mate, if you've got a Polish passport, I think it's now law. You get 1 week playing on Virtus Pro. I think that's just how it works. If you've got any Polish ancestry, you can have a go. You just call them up. It's my turn to play on Virtus Pro now. It's mental. Yeah, they lost. Like they lost. I think that was the last time I saw them play. That was like just a few days ago. I couldn't even believe it. Like, so, and by the way, when you look at some of the numbers that are going on, like, so Coldzera's on about a level with like Olaf Meister, like it's this take. You're like, fuck, man, I
Hasn't
can't believe
lived up to what was billed whatsoever. Put it that way,
mate. I can't believe how far back FaZe has gone. I can't. And again, when will people wake up to the fact that star players do not in-game leaders make? And now it's just going to be Nico and Coldzera sitting on a fucking pile of money running the FaZe name into the ground, which, by the way, it lives in the fucking ground anyway for fun. So this is the only org you could get away with this bullshit.
Sure.
Because, you know, you click on the fucking news or whatever, you're going through the stories, and FaZe owner and founder Banks had raging party at Las Vegas, faces federal charges for doing $30,000 of damage to a hotel room at the Win. You're like, right, yeah, brilliant. Love this org, mate. Super fucking professional. Like, when I was digging through all the lawsuits they're into, which they're still in a bunch, by the way, that's before you can get into the Tfue stuff. I just found one random one about the guy who owned the FaZe house, right, that they were renting out, and it hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage just to the house, like including dog feces and all sorts. I'm gonna read that on stream, but like FaZe are just a fucking org just run by brats and morons. Like that's all
it
it
is.
is.
Just a frat house, then.
Too,
Like, imagine.
too much money, average 80 IQ, like. You know what I mean? Just scammers and liars and cunts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just how that brand has any. Well, it just shows you the state of what the average fan is like, right? Because for that brand to be like, it ain't even bad boys at that thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say though,
there's
to be
dog
fair,
shit in your house. Oh, you rocking it? You a man, dem? Like, what are you talking
one of
about?
the things-
Clean it up. It's dog shit, mate.
as far as I know, though, that's actually one of the things that, in theory, the last like year or two has gotten a bit better in FaZe. Like they've sort of edged some of the idiots a bit. Some of the more recent people, at least the ones that have been like real people who knew the industry. So maybe there's hope for the org in the end. But anyway, to answer the question, obviously Coldzera has been an absolute abomination in FaZe, hasn't it?
Oh, listen, fairly at the launch, mate, in ways that I didn't think possible. So, but again, this is the hell that Nico's in, and it's one he deserves. And until he gets his fucking head out of his ass, this is how it is. Like, you thought Coldzera was going to fix everything because you saw yourself in Coldzera. Yeah. Now you got two Nicos. Now you know what everyone else was dealing with. Now you know how Carrigan was fucking rolling with it. Like, I feel sorry for Brokey. God, man, imagine being a young kid and this being your first pro experience, getting caught in this fucking shit show. I don't know why Olaf hasn't pieced the fuck out and just come back to Sweden. There's a time right now where you could make a real big difference. Go to NIP for a heel turn. You could have got back into Fnatic. Instead, you just sat out here. And then beautiful, gentle Rain. You know, like, oh, this poor cunt. Like, he bleeds for the cause. He says all the right stuff in interviews. He takes all the shit he rolls, and now his personal form's suffering. And he's just stuck under the tyranny of a fucking egomaniac in a failing team. Like, again, there's only so much you can stand because, yeah, a paycheck's great when you're getting $20,000 a month and you just know what's going in your bank. But when you get so much money and you accumulate, right, and that's been the case for a few years, you start thinking, like, what? Like, I got $500,000 in the bank saved up. Like, do I really want to start doing this to myself every fucking day? Do I just for another 20 grand on top of that pile? Like, it don't make no sense. So FaZe is a fucking disaster. So there's no doubt in my mind but Pounder, like, what's worse, and it definitely ain't Dust. Anyway, Reykjavik on Steam. Is the Team Liquid lineup bound to fall apart before the next major? I mean, I don't know, mate, but I do know there's like little factors that chip away at them psychologically. They'll be mad hating it, by the way, that EG is fucking doing well and has hit that number one ranking. That's gonna be fucking eating away at them like a fucking, you know.
That, put it this way, I think that's a bigger factor that could, because of the real problem is this: if EG is Liquid for a while, and then in 6 months both teams want to do a move, a player going from EG like that, you could easily see the writing on the wall, because that's the downside of it being two NA teams that are at the top of the rankings, isn't it? It's like they're going to be so like. Always been a scene that bad at impulse control on those sorts of like the problem kicking from the team immediately. Like, so I agree. Like, the problem is it's just so far away. I'd like to believe they could become good again and get there, but something does kind of feel like they might just make at least one player change before the major. It is so far. Remember, it's May next.
I just got the mad fear, mate. I just got the mad fear they're gonna panic and do something stupid. It's like I said, like y'all got to listen to me, Team Liquid. You're 100%. Like, just stick with this lineup. Stop living in a future that hasn't come to pass yet. Like, stop mind fucking yourselves, and you're gonna be okay. But I just think, unfortunately, the problem you got is these players just not capable of that. Just not capable of that, and they're gonna mind fuck themselves. And I keep thinking to myself, like, you know, the madness is this. We theory crafted that it might have been NAF. Then it got falsely reported that it was NAF. Then they bounced back and said, listen, it definitely ain't gonna be NAF. But then I think what's gonna happen is EG winning, all this other crazy shit. What if it then goes on to become NAF, and then this fucking journalist that just published what we said, what we theory crafted, he's going to turn around and go, oh, I was vindicated because it happens like 3 months later or whatever. I can just see some mad fucking world where that actually goes down. Because Team Liquid, it's like you can just never feel comfortable. When they're confident, they come out, they got that swagger, they're banging people out. When they got fucking mental issues, they're like Mike Tyson. They ain't thinking about how to win a boxing match. They're thinking about how to bite off your ear and get the fuck out. You know what I mean? That's like Team Liquid in a nutshell. Sunmade Raisins asks, who has been kindest to you in life? It's like Conan the Barbarian. Conan, what is greatest in life?
Would have been a cooler question if you just said in esports, wouldn't it? Because I don't know about you, Richard.
Do you want to just make it in esports?
I'm going to go. Some family members have been kinder to me than the people. Believe it or not, I know that might seem crazy. So people you don't know, basically, yeah, I would say do it in esports as a cooler angle. That's a fun one to think of, like hypothetical.
Yeah, let's just do esports. Sorry, like I know you paid for the question, dog, but
let me think
we ain't getting into that shit. Thorin's notoriously fucking private with that shit anyway. So, kindest person for me in esports. Let's think. Trying to think, like, who give me like a first big break or whatever. That's hard, man. I had to fucking dig everything out for myself. Like, probably some cunt who ain't even in esports right now, like Junks. No one knows who the fuck Junks is.
Who is that?
See, he was a geezer that used to run the first website I worked for. And what he did was, yeah, he fucking basically like was a notorious mess. Like, no one knows this guy. But like, to put it in perspective, when like the BAFTAs started doing games for the first time, like in the early noughties or whatever, or mid noughties or whatever it was, he fucking like took some of the money that we made on the website and said, I'm gonna go do coverage at the BAFTAs. I run the show. I'm gonna go down there. And he turned up with like 2 fucking hookers. Was just like swanning around at this event. Like, he was a fucking boss, man. I love that guy. But anyway, he basically was like the guy that sort of helped push me into, you know, sticking around and writing in esports and stuff. And he gave me a free platform, completely open. Write what you want, do what you want, live how you want. Like, I used to tell him, like, I'm going to these iSeries, right, and I'm going to be fucking sniffed out my mind. Like, do you still want the pieces? He goes, absolutely. Like, he had a real gonzo approach to everything. And he, like, stood by me every time there was a drama, when motherfuckers were, like, coming saying they were going to stab me and stuff, like, at events. He was always like that. And then when I started getting offers for other sites, he let me basically dual work. Like, most websites won't do this. CGS were taking my stuff. Cadred were taking my stuff. He was like saying, like, listen, you can do all that. You can have all that freedom. This is your home. You come and go as you please. So he was like a really cool guy. I think if I didn't meet him and a dude called Penguin that basically ran the website back in the day, I would never have stuck around in esports. But it was just knowing that there was like people like me in this like nerd space, like that they helped me meet like other people like that, like Jaffro, you know, you see called Tom Jones Wales now, like Gandolfini, Benno, you know, like what I quickly realized thanks to these dudes was like.
By the way, that video did crease me just because like
the wagon wheel one.
Yeah, because what people wouldn't get about that is that's Mark and a huge joke. Actually, the actual punchline's subtle because actually that and not get the joke is like obviously the joke is as though he's just like went and got his dick sucked, doesn't he? Because there's like a fucking wagon wheel missing it. Like that's the fucking. It's actually a banging joke though. Like
but like see, people don't realize nothing either. Like Die is funny as fuck. I'm getting him on the show. I said to him like because he's working like crazy 12-hour shifts right now, but I want to get him on a show and just do like an old school esports anecdote show because he's got the maddest stories. Yeah, he was there when we were straight out there Wild Western. So he's another dude I'd put forward for it. Like it's super hard. Like back in the day, before I got like big and started making money, everybody in esports like was helping me out, helping me get to the next level, being nice. I had a lot of good friends. But then it was like once I started making it and getting paid, that's when everyone wanted to fucking jam it up my ass. That's when I started meeting the tyrants and the egotists and the cunts. That's when people were sniping at me, like on forums before even social media. You know, it was like that's when shit got crazy. So back in like I want to say 2004, 2005, like all the people I met were fucking sick. But those two, Junks and Penguin, you don't know who the fuck they are. You probably ain't gonna be able to find nothing out about them on the internet. But those boys were the real boys. So, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this while you're doing I could also pick some old school people who gave me breaks and stuff. But to be fair, a lot of those people I was never like super friends with, they just give me a nice professional break or professional courtesy or saw some potential in you. I think the person I'll actually pick might be a surprise to some people, but it's actually going to be somebody who was a friend of mine. It's Monte Cristo from League of Legends. And the reason why specifically I'll pick him is not just because we're friends, etc., but here's the backstory. Only maybe him for about, I think when I got fired from OnGamers was in October 2014, and I think I only met Monty in something like the spring of 2013. So I only knew him. I'd been to Korea like 2 times, I think, even then for a couple of months, or like a month or 2 months. Not like a lot. Like it's not like I was like best pals with him. We did already do Summoning Insight stuff, but this was the first year. We're talking at the end of 2014 now. The first year of doing Summoning Insights. The first year I was actually working together in the same game. And at the end of that year, when I got fired from OnGamers, I've never told this story publicly as far as I know. Literally, the first thing Monty did when he heard I'd been fired from OnGamers was message me and say, right, I've talked to my agent, and he says, what we should do is make a joint YouTube channel, and we'll put all of our shows like Summoning Insight on that channel, and we'll build it up as like a little network of our own. And he said, and until you get like any full-time work, you can just take all the ad rev from that. We build, I'll get my to try and get like special sponsorships just for the shows, and like we'll make that like business basically. So even though I actually never did end up taking the ad revenue, like I actually immediately got freelance work and I wasn't like destitute. Literally, basically, where the other factor is we never did build that channel up to be much bigger. It was just basically for Summoning Insight, because actually there was a side reason, which is that unfortunately, like a lot of people, when Monty had to cast like 5 days a week when they like expanded the Korean schedule, like most people, you just can't talk that much. It wrecks your voice. So he couldn't do additional content. So it's one of those things where I never actually had to take up the offer in the end, but the offer itself is amazing. Like what a gesture to someone who you've like at the time, I would say we were friends, but we weren't like close friends or anything. So I actually took that as like what a fucking amazing gesture. The idea that like you would give up all the money, you would go out your way to help someone else who at least in that moment might seem like they're in a bad spot, So it's very rare you meet people like that. So in my opinion, when you do, they're worth their weight in gold. People will actually, for real, take a chance for you,
Yeah, man, that's good. Always, me and Monty, we've had our ups and downs, but like, he's a good guy, like no doubt about it, 100%. Like, I think all of the stuff that's ever been attributed to him that's bad, it was like mistakes. Like,
yes, it's often misunderstandings, or it came across the wrong way.
It ain't never malice, right? You feel
no.
So, yeah. All right. Alice the Alchemist asks, do you and Thorin have a ranking for all the countries that you guys have visited? Like, mate, you're obviously new, Alice, because we can't talk about this. We can't talk about this, bro. What are you talking about? Like, fuck, this is ridiculous.
I don't know about you, but I would go this way. Like, one of the reasons, by the way, this might sound weird, as to why I always was actually a little bit triggered about the fact that people make it like Poland's the one I hate, is because if you know anything about me, I'm just like a mild misanthrope. Is like I can go to the best country in the world, green room with the wrong drink, and I'm tired and someone's annoying me, then that's the worst country in the world. I get very like stupid shit like that. I like to be at home in my own place, where I can chill out and feel comfortable. I'm these people who's like a travel head, basically. Like I'm not like Matt Sadakist who goes to a country, gets in 2 days early, goes and bikes up through like some area, visits all. So I don't do any of that shit. I just arrive, complain about the food, do the fucking CS event and leave. Like, I'm not really a travel guy. So to me, most of them are shit, if I'm being honest. Like, that's the reason why I didn't know I was going to get another trouble for wrecking Poland. I was like, I hate all these places. They're all shit.
I mean, listen, again, I think it's ridiculous that it's like, that you can't sort of, like, there's any, like it's not even xenophobia to say I went to this country and didn't have a good time and I don't like it and I don't want to go back. Like it's just like it's just a fucking mild observation. But such are the times where people just want to get outraged about stuff, like just for fucking nothing. Like you're just gonna blow up over nothing. Like, do you know how many people say Britain's a fucking shithole? Like, you know what I mean? Like you know how many times you get fucking told that when you go around Europe, or English people are red-faced gammon wankers and all this, and you're like, yeah, listen, there's
Germans again. I'll reiterate, Germans saying that British food sucks. Germans.
Like, come on, mate.
You enjoy your giant pork chicken nugget and shut the fuck up about cuisine.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, right? Like, so I don't know why so people get bent out of shape, especially when you consider like British history. There's almost like a foundational element. The way we engage with our European brethren is almost through that rivalry, that banter of our like shared history, which has been fractious down the years. But you know, whenever it fucking mattered, like when we had to rock up and beat the Bosch, what did we all fucking do? We all got together, like. You know, relationship with France is complicated because you go to the war, and yeah, it's instrumental what the French resistance did. You go back, and then it's like, wait, we were straight. You know, Napoleon was a bit of a fucking bellend when he was straight. You know what? So it's complex because we got history. Americans don't understand it. See, that's the big problem here because it's like a new fledgling nation. The birth of your nation came out of the first.
I
war,
always think it's cute,
and then you beat
Americans
each other.
They invented racism. It's like, guys, you were way late to that table. What you want about?
Yeah, no, I know.
You invented slavery. No way.
So it's like it's like almost they listen to us like what was normal banter. Like, you know, listen, no one's really fucking bringing up like the war to Germans or nothing.
Oh,
like,
of course
we all know that's like fucking beyond water under the fucking bridge. Shit happens. It ain't your fucking fault. That generation's almost all gone anyway. You know. It just is what it is. It was a dark period of fucking human history. It ain't about you. But I mean, I do remember a period when I used to go out to Germany where, you know, that was the thing that got brought up all the time, and like people would talk about it, and Germans were like unbelievably apologetic, and you're like, you ain't got to like.
I know. I was
there?
just feeling, it
like you know what you.
It wasn't me. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so there was that weird phase that we went through. But I think Americans don't understand that. Like, there's a lot of like banter and rivalry that goes back and forth between European countries. You know, going back to the British Empire, going back to obviously, you know, when the French had their empire, obviously World War I, World War II, like. We got a history with each other, but deep down, when it matters, Europeans will come together to do great things together. That's how it is. So, all of that being said, I do just want to go on the record and say, fuck doing esports events in France. Like,
that is easily one of the worst of all time, by the way.
Because let me tell you how it goes down, right, from start to finish. And remember, if you're French right now, do love you. I do got French friends, right? But like, listen, there's some fucking limitations to your infrastructure, shall we say.
And it starts with the airport. You arrive
there
at
Charles
is.
He knew Charles de Gaulle, mate. Put me in that motherfucking
hell.
scene from Black Hawk Down. I'd rather be there getting shot at than in Charles de Gaulle Airport. It's too much, mate. You get there, and it's what
for some reason, right? Real tweet, and it said Charles de Gaulle Airport is Somalia.
No, it's mental. Mate. Like,
what did he say? You cut out?
It said Charles de Gaulle Airport is Somalia. It just said something like that.
No, I didn't see that. Somebody got mad upset about it because it's like it's mental what you have to go through just to get on a plane. So it's like it is like a war zone. You get there, you land. Now, first of all, every French airline, even Lufthansa, which I think flies out of there, the German one, what they do is right. They fucking decide, okay, because if you were at any other normal airport on Earth, an hour to get off your flight to get to another flight would be fine. Wrong. You in Charles de Gaulle now, son. So what you've got to do is you've got to go from one side of an airport. Sometimes there's another, like, there's this mad third terminal that's just like you have to get on a fucking bus and drive to it. It's like 20 minutes away, right? Like, you got to get to that bus. Everything's slow. Everything's shit. Like, it's congested. Every time I've been in Charles de Gaulle, by the way, the baggage handlers have been on strike. What, you want your bags? Go fuck yourself. We're on strike, mate. We're drinking wine out back. Fuck you. So you don't even get your suitcases if you go from point A to point B. But the idea you can get through Charles de Gaulle in an hour is insane. It's like the Crystal motherfucking Maze. I'm expecting Richard O'Brien to be out in this bitch. Like,
to the luggage zone.
Yeah, to the luggage zone. I'm locked in. Let me out. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it's fucking rolling. So anyway, fuck Charles de Gaulle. You get out of Charles de Gaulle, That's without a connecting flight, but still takes about an hour to just get out the motherfucker. You get there, right? Then you're just in like Paris or whatever, you know what I mean? Have fun there, mate. Fuck me, that city is crowded. You feel me? Like, you've got an underground system that's like London's. Maybe it ain't as bad as the metro, actually, but it's pretty fucking heavy. You got fucking people straight eyeing you up. You know, it's like, it's getting like New York in terms of like, if you look like a tourist, if you look like a weak fish, you're gonna get fucking rolled coming out of there. Then you got to get to your fucking hotel. Courtesy, shit, man. When France discover that, it's gonna be all right, but they ain't yet. Like, it's like, you know, they got all the other stuff we got, but man, the idea of the customer always being right in France.
Customer service is pure shit,
mate. Like they
I'll tell you a quick
fuck,
anecdote.
especially if you rock up with an English accent, you getting punked.
I'll give you an example of what France is like customer service, right? I once went on holiday to Cannes, which is a very famous, expensive part of France, because first of all, it's in the south. It's obviously where they have the film festival, so you've got all these like mega rich Americans going on holiday there. So I go there and I think, right, well, the one thing I'm going to get here is like high class shit. Like I can, you know, your dollar can go quite far here. So what? Yeah. Rather, it will not go far, but it'll be worth it. You know, you'll get like value for your money. So I go to like what TripAdvisor was ranking as like the second best restaurant in all of Cannes. I get a table, I'm there, and then when the waiter comes over and goes like, "What would you like for a drink?" I just say like because I don't like beer.
Say, how you doing, Shucks?
I'll just say, yeah, no, yeah. I just said, I'll just have an orange juice, and he goes, "We do not have orange juice." I'm like, that. Why would anyone speak that way to someone who just asked for a drink? Like, what? Why would you treat? If you're in an expensive restaurant, why would you treat the person asking that like they're an idiot for asking for some basic items? I was like, this is brilliant. This guy's getting a nice at the end of this. Nice. The tip is French.
I didn't even realize. You know when you said that Charles de Gaulle is the Somalia of international airports, I didn't realize I tweeted that.
Yeah, I think it was you.
It was me. It said my tweet says Charles de Gaulle is the Somalia of international airports. Anything goes there. There are no rules because it is as well. Like there's mad piracy and all sorts going on there. Like say your bag's turning up is a lottery. Like it's ridiculous. That airport is fucking shit. It's ridiculous. I don't know one person who travels internationally that thinks I hope I end up in fucking Charles de Gaulle. Like, and then I forgot. Charles de Gaulle messaged me like, "What's your feedback?" I wrote this after I got trapped in Charles de Gaulle, mate. I got trapped. Like they literally, I'm not even joking. This is true. They built a wall while I was there that I couldn't get past when I had to get to this point. So they sent me down one place. I needed to go to another place to get a connection. When I got down there, a guy pulled like
build that wall.
No, full crystal maze in me again. And I'm like, well, what do I do? I'm walking back and forth. It's a toilet. I'm saying to the cleaner, like, mate, I'm just trapped in this part.
We can do the challenge without him. We don't need him. He'd only be grabbing them silvers anyway.
It's meant like you literally like just locked me in a corridor. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
By the way,
I was talking to this cleaner.
Yeah,
I was talking to this cleaner, and the cleaner, like, he's shrugging his shoulders. I'm like, "How do you get out, mate? Like, you can't come past there. It's security." I'm going, but there's no other fucking doors. Like, this can't be real, mate. You can't just put up a wall. So I had to go to the wall I just put up. I'm knocking on the fucking wall. This bored-looking motherfucker comes out, like, scuffed up. This is all true, mate. It's all true. Scuffed up fucking uniform, tie all skew with, like, clearly having his fucking siesta or whatever the fuck, having a nap in the afternoon. Pulls the door aside like this, like fucking, "Here's Johnny," like sticks his head through, like, "Hello, how can I help you? You can get me out of this fucking cage. You just locked me in, you mad bastard. Like, I got a flight to catch." Didn't make that flight, like, go fuck myself. And then there are no rules there, bro. There's no rules. Like, you on your own, son. So like you fucking, you know what I mean? Like you saying that like there, and like they go, "Oh yeah, interested in your feedback." You don't want it. You can't handle it. Like if you can ever explain to me why you build a wall in the middle of me walking down a fucking corridor and just lock me in at a fucking international airport, there ain't no feedback for that. Just don't do that.
For you, you're gonna get domed, but you think that was the end? Here we go. They're trapping
no, like
me
legit
in.
As well. Like think about it, man. You think you're gonna get fucking clipped or something? It's so weird, like. So anyway, yeah, just fuck Charles de Gaulle. And then, like I say, you get there, the tube's a nightmare, Paris is overcrowded, the food, French cuisine's meant to be some of the best in the world. You better have that money, because otherwise you go eat in a regular place. It's, yeah, mate, if you just eat in a regular place, it's shit. Like even the McDonald's out there is outrageous. Like what? Like €8 for a Big Mac? Like you want to take my fucking eyes out and put them in a doggy bag as well? Why don't you? You know, fucking ridiculous. So yeah, straight up, I used to hate France. There was this one event we did where ESWC. We blogged about it. You'll find it on YouTube. We did like a live blog. We lost our minds. It was me and Diablo. You know, the geezer who records the videos. Was doing that documentary with Henry and Sadikist, ex Call of Duty player, and we got booked in a place that ESWC told us was near the venue. So we said, like, you got any recommendations for like hotels and places nearby? And he said, oh, there's this place 2 metro stops away, right? And we had to take our PCs and laptops. And I'm like, listen, I know how this goes down. We just get robbed and rolled on day one, and then we ain't doing no coverage. So we had to carry a fucking desktop, like PC, to ESWC like every day. So I was just yomping that like I was in the fucking military, like desktop
like
strapped to my fucking back, just, like yeah, exactly, 4 mile fucking speed march with a load carry just to get to the ESWC. Every day a fresh hell, a new moron put on the front page. Like I'm showing him the pass, I'm showing him the cards, I'm telling him it's safe. You let me in, your bruv let me in yesterday. You see, he just staring at me all slack-jawed, only understands one word in 3 I'm saying. So I'm trying to get in. So then I get in, we set up the PC, we start filming the thing. Day 2, by the way, it's a heat wave in fucking Paris, right? Day 2, we on day 1 we had like a water cooler. Day 2, they came in and took the water off us. They just took it away, like, and then left it in view again behind a little cordon, and all the staff were drinking it. And I'm like, please, sir, can I have some water? Like, please, sir. Right, and they're going, no, this is for staff only. I'm like, what? So the press don't get no water? You get water in fucking Gitmo. You get water in Guantanamo Bay. What next? Like, you're gonna fucking force feed me a Bible and play Metallica at me? Like, what happens now? So like, I couldn't even believe it. They just took water off us in the middle of a fucking heat wave, like free water. You know what I mean? Like, please, like. Oh God, I'm traumatized, mate, thinking about all them shit. I went to all them fucking events in France, like, and it killed me. And I think I did like, I can't remember the last one I did, like 2012, 2013. That's before you even get into the bullshit of the French commentators, which they always deny, trying to help that French team. I swear to God, I never seen nothing like it. When Very Games were in that final, were fucking the Danish team, Imperial or whatever they would call back then, were Fetish. And like literally, one of the players was shooting through the box, and the commentator starts going, wee! Like, what's this? The 3 little fucking pigs, mate. It was blowing my mind. Everyone applauding, calling out positions. That was the one as well where the fucking press conference for the female tournament, same event, this all one event, this right. They did the female tournament, brought in the winners. It was like SK and whoever else they'd played, and a French journalist got up and said, "So now that you have won the tournament, perhaps the 2 of you could do a little kiss for me." I was like, "What is this like?" Who's this? Who's doing a little kiss? Like, what are you talking about, mate? This is like.
And then people said that's inappropriate. Why is Shock's allowed to ask questions in anything?
I know, mate. I've never seen anything like it, mate. Like, just some of the events I've been to in France just beg a belief. Like, so there you go.
By the way, I've got a quick anecdote. I've got a really quick anecdote, but I thought of it while you were telling me there, because this is actually a key piece of detail that I don't know if you've ever properly explained. Because you know, when everyone brings up that whole fucking Loader DreamHack incident from years ago, the thing they always think is the smoking gun is the DreamHack statement, not the official one, the one that fucking Hellspawn put out on Twitter, where he claimed that, you know, you attacked the guy. Now, what people didn't know, unfortunately, and it was tied to this exact event, is years earlier, when Hellspawn used to be a journalist like we were. First of all, he wasn't even a real journalist. He was literally a tabloid journalist. He used to work for Rakaka, which was a fucking site that was a gossip website. Literally, they used to verify, like,
just used to post IRC logs.
Literally.
Yeah.
So when he worked for this site, along with the whole attitude of the site, he used to be, he could talk shit to people on the internet. Yeah. What he did was, while at an event, Richard was in the same room as him, he would talk shit to Richard over Twitter. So unsurprisingly, Richard did a classic move back in the day when everyone was a nerd. Done it my so many times. You know nothing's going to happen anyway, so you just basically go up to him and sort of say, "I like to step outside, punk." And then they obviously instantly.
And I was jacked back then. Like, to be fair, I was fucking massive in like whatever year
and
this
you have to remember, like, Hellspawn. I mean, for a start, of his alias is Hellspawn Lord. He is a massive nerd. You can imagine he doesn't want to fight. So what Hellspawn had to do, literally, was instant his own shit sandwich, apologize to Richard and shake his hand and go, like, "Oh, sorry about that," or whatever. And so as a result, like every little fucking little secret fucker, get this, he to the surface the rest of his life. And then in this is my theory, he saw the chance to fuck with Richard, and he thought,
totally.
great, this is my, I've been waiting years for
100%
this.
what he did.
This is my chance.
100%.
This is my chance.
See, I never tell this story, right? Because on the one hand, I'm trying to play it down like I ain't a thug. But on the other hand, like,
it does
I
have a
fucking, listen,
yeah.
no, but like, you got to understand what he was saying. He was like saying, oh, you know, Richard Lewis, you're a small man. That's what he was saying on Twitter. You're a small man. Like, and he just kept repeating that phrase, like, small man, small man. So I was like, mate, you're fucking 2 meters away from me tweeting at me about what a small man I am. So I'm going to show you what a small man I am. Keep in mind as well, I've been ravaged by this event, dehydrated, carrying a PC into work every day, having to fight just to fucking sit down at my press desk because apparently nobody can remember a fucking face. So I get there and I'm like going, all right, small man, stand up then, talk. You know what I mean? He was going, oh, no, but what I meant was, I mean, in your soul. He was like coming up with all these like, mad reasons. Going, no, I fucking don't mean I've got a small soul, do you? You thought you were talking shit. But what now, though? But what now, though? But what now, though? Yeah, but what now, though? So I was going full temper tea. I was like, smash all the things in your fridge. I was like, coming at him like that. And he weren't ready for that. But then, no, you missed off the even craziest bit with this fucking bitch. So what happens is, right, he fucking apologizes and said, I shouldn't have called you a small man. I can see you're a very big man. I can see you can handle yourself, no problem. Then he sat down, right? And I was like, well,
you're very big in soul. I see it.
No. Like legit, he said that. I swear, like, because I never told this story before, so 100% this is legit, right? Okay. So he fucking sits down, and then, like, just when I'm calming down, because everyone in the press room was like, fucking hell, like, Richard Lewis is mental, isn't he? Like, listen, like, what are you getting all upset for? And I'm like, you don't understand, like, what we're going through right now, but fine. So calm down, sit down on my laptop, start typing. He gets up again, he walks over and he goes, listen, I just want you to know, I did apologize to you, but not because I was scared. And I went, what? And he went, I just want you to know that I'm not scared of you. And I went, mate, what are you being antagonistic for? You look pretty scared when you fucking shat it and we're trying to explain what you said. Like, so I get up again. I'm like, all right, so you ain't scared then.
The double stand up now.
Yeah, why don't we just go and do this outside thing? Like, I'll just take you outside away from the security and like see if you're scared or not. Like, cause mate, you've been riding me for years. Like, people don't even understand. He published a story saying I was
he would needle all sorts of shit.
He published a story saying I was a thief on that garbage site Rakaka.
Oh, for
because somebody on Cadred misused the fucking picture, which happened every day in esports.
Of course.
So he got a cartoonist to draw my face dressed in a black and white jumper, carrying the fucking swag bag, and publish that Richard Lewis from Four Kings teeth. So he was already on my fucking dick. So I'm just like, listen, mate, like I already got fucking time for you, but no, I'm a small man. Nah, it ain't happening. So anyway, he apologized and he fucking said like, oh, I didn't do it because I'm scared of you. I got up, I made him scared again. He sat down and then he got up a third time and he came over and went, Richard, I just want to say though, you're like a caveman. We don't do this in where I'm from in Sweden. We don't be able. I'm like, sit down, mate. Trying to get yourself fucking.
How many chances does this guy need?
What's wrong? Yeah, I know. Like, so obviously he was holding on to that shit when all the load of stuff went down. Obviously he was holding on to that. It's like the fucking kid who gets bullied in school. You know what I mean? Like, they go on and they get money. It's like Pete Thiel shutting down Gawker by funding Hulk Hogan. That's what Hellspawn did with that bullshit Twitlonger. All those are 100% lies. DreamHack disciplined him. 100% lies. Why ain't no journalist telling that story? Because it's good to have Richard Lewis be lied about constantly for fucking 5 years. You know what I mean? But yeah, Hellspawn's a fucking bitch. By the way, you ever want to dig into his history? Go find his old IRC logs and what his views on women used to be. Ooh, can't wait for them to come out one day, son. But anyway, just saying. So yeah, fuck going to France events, like fuck going to French events, mate. And yeah, I was a bit of a caveman, but I was still better than I was, like, you know, before that. I wouldn't have even talk before that. Like, you can't fuck. What's he saying? Ridiculous cunt. Anyway, question over. Don't go to France for esports events. Mike, feed me. Has Mousesports underachieved, overachieved, or been on a par with expectations since you joined? Do you still expect improvement, or have they peaked? I don't think they peaked. I think that's too harsh. I think right now they've had a couple of tournaments where they haven't done what I thought they'd done. Like, they lost that final at that nothing tournament where they should have won. I can't remember who they lost to. Was it Virtus Pro? Maybe that.
No, they went out in the semis, but they lost to Tricked, the one where Tricked won the tournament. Yeah,
that was it.
They Tricked in the semis. No, actually, I think they did lose to Virtus Pro. I think you're right.
I can't remember which one it was because I weren't really paying attention to that.
I know they only made top 4 though, which is kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, obviously. And they were like the favourites to win that, so they should have 100% fucking polished up, you know, cleaned up there. Like, but then where they're at now, I don't know, mate. I think honestly, like, a couple of anomalies aside, they're going to get a deep run. They're going to make some finals. They're going to make some semi-finals. I wouldn't touch nothing, like we said earlier. I think they're about where they should be, frankly.
Yeah, I would say like they've underwhelmed me in terms of the placings. I thought they would have had better ones. In fact, if I even just saw the level of play with my eyes, I would guess they'd have had better placings. But in terms of the actual like performance of the players, I think the players generally have come along about as well as you could have expected. Each of the players that they picked up, like aside from Christian and Carrigan, they had no like sure things in the players they were getting. So I don't think what they've gotten out of them like in the server is bad. It's just for some reason it hasn't translated to wins. They haven't got the actual placings. I think that I do actually think. Here's the thing: I think they're a better team than their rank is, if that makes sense. Like, just the eye test tells me they're better.
Yeah, agreed. That's kind of how I feel. Absolutely. And then final question: Detlef Insomniac, happy Halloween. Who's your favorite villain from comic books and why? Continuing last episode's theme.
That's a good one.
Man, there's some good fucking villains. Yeah, like fuck.
Because I will say, by the way, one thing I actually do enjoy about comic book is that it's one of the few mediums that almost has to do villains well, otherwise the story just falls apart completely.
Oh, totally.
So, for example, I will say, I personally, even though, like, in terms of general comics, I've always preferred DC over Marvel. For villains, I actually think Marvel's villains are the best, because one thing I like about the Marvel villains is they always, first of all, most of them aren't true, like, 100% pure evil villains. They're all people with like a moral gray area. Magneto, well, his family literally was killed due to who they were genetically. So what a surprise that when he finds out about mutants, he thinks humans will destroy them and has a very extreme response. But the point is, you have to agree to do that, but you can fuck with where he's.
Exactly.
You can see that, like, oh, fuck, yeah, I can sympathize with your situation, mate. So there's a pretty good one. I always thought similarly, Doctor Doom's a pretty fucking classic one. He's a guy who, if people don't know, yes, he is the antagonist of the Fantastic Four, but he's actually the leader of his own state, which in theory is successful. He just does it by different means. So I think it's people where they're villains, but there's like something redeeming about them or something very, very like intriguing about their persona, types of villains.
Yeah, it's a real hard one for me because I think all the names off the top are basically the ones that people would expect. I will just throw in, I did say I was a massive Punisher fan, but like Kingpin for me is a villain that I think deserves, like, I'm not talking about what they did with him on TV, I'm talking about just generally in the comics, right? Like, because he was believable evil. He was like just a guy who basically his special power was he just had money.
Yes.
So that was like. Yeah, exactly. That was like a way to address the kids, like, you know, corrupt elements, money. You know, he was called Kingpin. They focused a lot more on his crime, but like initially when he first came in. But like the more and more the stories went, he was always the guy like working behind the scenes. He was always the guy like he'd hire a hitman. He wouldn't shoot you himself. And he could definitely fight as well. He knows all these like martial arts and he's about 500 pounds of solid muscle for some reason, even though he looks fat in that suit. But yeah, I always thought fucking Wilson Fisk was the fucking boy. Shout out to Magneto as well. He got his own state as well. Him and Doctor Doom both got their own states. Yes. It was Genosha, wasn't it, for Magneto? And I can't remember what Doctor Doom's was called. It was like Monrovia.
His was like it was like a fake version of Latvia or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember what the name version was like. It was that top area.
Latveria it was. That was it. Latveria.
Yeah, something like that. I think that might.
Yeah. So. Anyway, but like, and obviously, everyone knows the Joker, like, because
that's
he's
just
so many
too
good
obvious.
story arcs, but it's just too obvious, yeah. So there you go. That's the last question. So I'm gonna wrap up the show there. Appreciate everybody that asked one. Remember, if you give $50 or more on the Patreon, we'll answer your questions for you. So all that remains to be said is a shout out to our sponsor we got going on over there, and of course a shout out to our patrons, $100 patrons: Jerky's Minion, Detlef Insomniac, Rekovic on Steam, Alice the Alchemist, and Justin Zapansky. Our $50 patrons: Benakagi Assassin, Butt Pounder 420, Carve, Colin Penny, Daniel Sellers, Madsen, Marcus Kumpar, Mike Feedme, Nemesis, Sad Sawar, Sunmade Raisins, TC Owens, Tobias Bernasconi, and Watchdoge. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week on By the Numbers. Until then, take care of yourselves.